Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, and today I have another great guest, another guy that I've actually got to meet in person at Joe Fest, which is coming up within less than 4 months. He's going to be there again. I have very few sponsors. That's never what this channel was about. But this is one of my sponsors, one of the people that I do have a code that where you can save some money. So it only benefits you. I'm not saying I haven't benefited from receiving stuff and doing reviews, but anyway, enough of that. You guys know this guy because you have been buying weapons off of him to modify your GI Joe, your Operation Monster Force, or whatever 6-inch figures you like. But anyway, my friend, my special guest, John from Top Fun Retro 3D Toys. Have you thought about shortening that name?
I wish, when I originally had the concept of this, I was like gonna design and print the missing parts for like 80s Star Wars vehicles.
Yeah.
And so here we are, and I think there's enough brand and name recognition. Also, when I went to like topfun.com, I don't think it was available. They wanted to charge me more money. So
I can imagine that. I know our my work email is extremely long, and I've said to my boss, I'm like, can't we just like break down the can't we just do the initials to EIS? And he's like, it's taken. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. So we have this really long one, and not that they're hard words to spell, but there's just so many different letters, and you're like, oh, this is so aggravating to put in. So anyway, how are you doing? Thank you for joining me.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, by the way. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that we could finally meet up and do this together. I'm doing great, and like we talked about, I can't believe I've been retired from the Marine Corps for almost a year now.
That's
And
and that was one of the things I remember when I had asked you a while back if you'd be interested, and you're like, hey, there's a lot of stuff coming on. And one of the reasons why I also did not want to have you on, and this is nothing against you, your lifestyle was so busy at the time. And I know there were times when I was trying to get a hold of you, and you're like, man, it's been crazy. I've been gone for the past 5 days. And I'm very, when I schedule something like to have someone on, I'm like, I don't want it to be messed up. And that's why I'll schedule so far out. So I was like, you know what? You're still going to be around. I always want guests. I want, have new guests all the time. And when you finally reached out and said, hey, you know what? I'm retired. Things have settled down a little bit. I was like, you know what? This is now a perfect time. So, and I think I asked you probably 2 months ago. So it's been a while.
well, I mean, if you remember last Joe Fest, I had literally moved to Texas, or gone out of the Marine Corps, moved to Texas,
Didn't even know that.
try to set up my house. Meanwhile, I'm printing new things. I had just released the AT4, which I was literally printing in the hotel room on Friday night before Saturday morning for Joe Fest. And instead of driving from North Carolina to Augusta, I was now having to drive from like north of Houston all the way to Augusta. So yeah,
And
it was pretty hectic.
and I was shocked by that because I had no idea you were moving. And I remember when I talked to you, you're like, "Oh no, I'm in Houston now," which I was like, "Oh," because the year before when I didn't meet you, um, I hadn't met you. It was Krusty O'Crow that actually introduced us. You're like, "Oh yeah, I'm right there. I'm not far from here, so it was easy to go." And I had no idea you were going to be that far away. And it's a haul. I drive from Michigan, so it's a 13, 14 hour drive. Um, it's not a lot of fun. Not gonna lie.
No, but I tell you what, it's absolutely worth it. And
Oh yeah.
if I could, for when we started going to Joe Fest, uh, 3 years ago, with just me and my daughter, my oldest, who was actually the inspiration for all of this. This whole 3D printing thing. She wanted to go to an action figure festival. She loved playing with the newer 3/4 inch Super 7 GI Joes because they came in like they had female figures, and as you know, my kids are mixed race, so like they had like the brown and the
No,
tan
I
and
didn't notice that. I
the
don't see race. I didn't even notice other than when you told.
after she took 2,000 pictures, and I was like, no, she's Asian, she has a quota, like it's our family, that's how we roll, dude.
That all came from how she was holding the camera, and I'm like, I've never seen anyone take a picture like that. And then you go into this joke, and I watched her like look mortified until I made some comment about Tony being Mexican, about being a white Mexican, and then her face like just completely changed, and she started laughing because then she realized like, oh, these guys, they get the jokes.
Yeah,
Like,
so she gets that from her mom. She gets her good looks from me, but no, I'm kidding.
well, let's say hi to the chat really quick. We got 23 people watching right now. So please hit the like button if you haven't yet. Share. I don't know how the share works or whatever. But if you are new to John, you haven't dealt with any 3D printed stuff that he's made, in the description are links to his page, to his website. And if you use my code Punk with Toys, drop the A, you'll get 10% off. His Instagram and YouTube are all on there. So let's say hi quickly. We have Krusty O'Crow saying, here for some long-awaited Top Fun Retro Thursday friendliness. Hello, Punk. Hello, John. Hello, chat. We got GI Bro, who has the best guns in the business. We have Stu for lunch, jumping in. We have Siscon. Okay, I've never seen this. It must be someone that you know. And all new,
Cisco Sasha won. I don't using a different name, but
well, new people get this.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. You gotta understand, man. I never even saw these assholes before.
And in sad news, that guy right there has announced that he has cancer, incurable cancer, but treatable, which I'm not really sure what that means. Hopefully, he'll be around for quite some time.
I love Bruce Campbell.
He's from down the street. Not that I've ever met him, but he's from down the street in Royal Oak. Joe ARH jumping in here. We got Uncle Clutch jumping in. There's Krusty O'Crow again. We have Paul Morales. And then we have 3-star draw saying, what up, Punk, John, and chat. We're going to have a whole bunch of people. U.S. Combat Dojo. Did I say SCS Dog? I don't believe so. We'll say it again if we did. Usually I'm quicker on this. I start off Nolan, which makes us Toy Tube official. We have my one moderator, Action Figs, who I think you met Ed while we were there. We have the voice of Joe Fest, David T. Allen. I don't know. I'm ready to talk. Viper Scout. He's my 3.75 guy here. This guy knows way more than most people should about the A Real American Hero line. And we have Clint Jorgensen, and then Siscon Sasha. We got it right.
It's Lynn. I got you, Lynn.
Okay, what other woman would be on this channel at this moment? It's Alice and Troy. That might be one woman. Rowdy Riles. There's not many. There's not many. So I will give you that. All right. So quickly, we kind of touched it. Where does the Top Fun Retro Toys name come from?
Well, as you can see, I'm wearing a Top Gun hat, and it just occurred to me that I love Top Gun. That's always been ever since I was a kid. And for a toy company, Top Fun was just changing that G to an F, which I did on my logo, and I'll probably receive a cease and desist from Paramount at some point. But I was like, Top Fun, that sounds great. Well, Top Fun was like taken or not available, and going back to the retro toys, I wanted to originally because I have the old school Darth Vader ship, and I wanted to somehow scan or remake those parts, and that was the part of the the original concept. So I threw retro toys and then 3D because I didn't want to mislead people to think like this is injection molded, like this is 3D printed.
Yeah.
So like that's what we're doing. We're 3D printing, and I've actually found that the detail you can get, especially when you're running 12K printers, which I am now, is really it's a lot. It's better than what you would get from an injection molding machine because that has to be milled out in aluminum.
It's one of the things that Mark from Gridiron, when I've had him on the show, we've discussed, and I've heard him talk about it on other shows, that you can't get the same type of detail. And again, we see it. And you look at the Operation Monster Force, where where Gridiron is designing it, they're really nice weapons. But when you look at, and it's not just his, it's all these guys that are doing it that are using good printers. The detail that you're getting in is absolutely amazing.
And the other thing is agility, right? So if I wanted to have my models injection molded, I make like 12 versions of some of these guns.
And we're going to talk about that because you're crazy with that.
So there's no way that I could have that expansive collection if these were injection molded, because I'd have to have molds for each and every one of them. And then if I wanted to go in and change something, modify it any way, that would be very prohibitive. Whereas in 3D printing, I'm like, I can just go into my CAD program and there we go.
All right, we have Junior Scratch Off Hunter saying, "Sup, y'all?" And I know I've never seen this guy before.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. You gotta understand, man. I never even saw these assholes before.
And quickly, Joe RH became a new member, so he gets the
welcome to the creamery.
So thank you very much. Listen, your daughter's not the only one that you use and abuse for this show.
Where's the here come the money? Remember that one during the that was so much fun.
That's when we get super chats, but we need super chats to get that. I have her that she does that, and then I have the for if you've been a channel member.
Fucking Phil Collins.
I told her a long time ago, because it seemed like we listened to Disney music, and it seemed like every Disney song was a Phil Collins song. And she's very respectful. She won't swear around me. I'm like, you can say fucking Phil Collins when it comes out. I don't even dislike Phil Collins. And it became a thing because I had Gaz on, and somehow Phil Collins came on. Phil Collins topic came on, and we started talking about it, and the whole fucking Phil Collins thing came on. And so it became this whole thing, and I had her do the little voice note for it. And then one day somebody sent me, it was like Phil Collins' 75th birthday or something. And sure enough, I send it over to my daughter, and she goes, "That's what he looks like?" It never dawned on me. She had no idea what Phil Collins looked like.
Well, at his age now, but
she wouldn't know anyway. She would have no idea. She had no idea. It never dawned on me that she's 17 now, but she's 15, 16 when when I did this. She had no idea what he looked like. She knows his songs. So when we're driving and it comes on, I'll turn it up and I'm like, she'll be like, "Fucking Phil Collins."
So my 13-year-old daughter, she has developed a taste for the early 90s gangster rap. So we have a playlist with Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. We watch Boys in the Hood Friday, and she doesn't say those words at all. But Tupac, she put on some Tupac, and it's an interesting dynamic. Of course, she also listens to the Pixies. I took her to see Morrissey because for her birthday last year, she was like, "Dad, I want one thing. Morrissey's on tour. Can you take me to see Morrissey?" And with a tear in my eye, I was like, "Yes, we will see Morrissey."
That's crazy. Quickly, we have SCS Dog, member for 4 months. He basically just wanted to hear the
fucking Phil Collins.
We got JMK Custom saying, "Howdy,
What's up?
Good to see Johnny. Good time.
Johnny
I'm
Good
looking,
Times.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing seeing I can't think of his name.
Mikey.
JFK. Mikey. I want to say John. That's his dad. Sorry, Mikey. I'm like, why the fuck? And then quickly, here it comes.
Here comes the money.
Money!
Money talk. Here comes the money.
Krusty O'Crow with a $6.99 super chat saying, by request, I do not request. The only time that I beg for super chats is during the streamathon or punkathon for Toys for Tots. So way different, but thank you very much, Krusty. And then Gun Bunny Customs jumping in saying, what's up, everybody? All right. So you kind of brought up Top Gun. I got to ask you, what do you think of Top Gun 2?
I watched it twice in the theater.
Okay.
I loved it.
I
But
love this movie.
it's Star Wars.
It's
It's
that's
the
a
plot
trench
for the
run.
New Hope. Yeah, I mean that's it. But it was beautifully done, and whether I like Tom Cruise as a person or not is completely irrelevant. It was a fantastic movie, and I really hope that if they do a third, they don't mess it up, because I think you have to know your limit of advance.
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
No, you're right. I mean, that is totally the trench run in Star Wars, and yet I didn't care because it was done awesome, and they found a way to work the F-14 in. And I think it's the only way they could work the F-14 in, and they had to. It's not like working like an M16 in, which again, no one uses the M16 in the military now, but you could find a way to work that in really easy. A lot harder to work an F-14 into it.
Yeah, actually, when I was in the southern Philippines, the U.S. government sold the Filipino government a ton of M16A1s, M14s, M1 Garands, and you would see those dudes. That's what they patrolled with, like the old XM177 Echo 2, and you see these cats, with these M16A1s, and I've got like the new FNM4, and I'm like, yo, bro, you want to swap? Like, for real? Like, let me get that.
So we got Super Devin jumping in here, and then we have Tony's face saying, Pumpkin John, what's going on, fam? All right, so let's just get into it. How old are you?
Ooh, 43 going on 44. I'll be 44. Young buck, young man.
You're young, but man, I'm sure the military, how many years in the Marines did you spend?
It was 20 years, and I recently hyperextended my knee during a children's taekwondo class with my daughter, and I'm still working through that wearing a knee brace. So now, truth be told, I am officially a white belt with a yellow stripe. So by federal law, if I'm ever pulled over, I have to tell the officer that I am the weapon.
Those are the things that, again, as a skateboarder my entire life, and I'm gonna quietly knock on wood so my dog doesn't flip out. I've been unscathed, and I mean, yeah, swellbows, sprained ankles, but I've made it through 50 years of nothing horrible. And yet I see somebody that snaps an ankle walking up a curb, or somehow breaks their arm when they trip down a step, which is nothing. And I'm just like, man, I've been lucky. Man, I've been lucky, and I'm grateful for that.
Now, my right Achilles is shot. I had my bicep.
That's the Achilles is the thing I worry about more than anything.
Yeah, that's rough. It still bothers me. I had my right bicep. When I was doing pull-ups, I was actually listening to Danger Zone. So I'm getting ready for a physical fitness test. I'm doing pull-ups, and over the sound of Danger Zone blaring on repeat, because that's how I do it, I can hear it snap, and just a cascade of pain rushes over my arm. And I was like, like a Texas football coach, shake it out, finish your reps. And I was like, my arm doesn't work anymore. So I go to the ER, and I'm wearing American flag silkies, a Cobra Kai t-shirt, and like I look like a total moron. And so I go to the ER on base, and I'm there for like 3 hours. Like, yeah, you get an MRI tomorrow, and surgery a couple days later. So that was fun.
Yeah, like I've missed all that. I have, tendonitis, and I was visiting a friend, and she's a masseuse, and my shoulder was hurting, and she's like, "You have tendonitis in your bicep." I'm like, "Why is my shoulder hurting?" And she whips out the book and she's showing me, and she's like, "This is where it connects. Your shoulder is going over it." And I'm like, "Oh, all right. Well, the shoulder's still what hurts, not the bicep."
It's all interconnected though. It's
Yeah,
weird. Yeah.
it sucks. I mean, getting old it's real. Like all those people that say age is just a number, they're like 30,
Yeah, I got the
20s.
miles. It's not the year, it's the miles. So
It is crazy. Ultra Mesh says concussion, separated shoulder, cracked rib, bruised hip bone. Life of a BMXer. Who the hell would build a highway to the danger zone?
probably a BMXer. And
No,
that how you got all that?
they built Hell Track
Okay.
from Rad. Okay, so where were you like where were you born? Like where'd you grow up at? What was your family life like? Did you have, siblings?
Right. So I gotta say this up front. I was born in Indiana, but I got to Texas as quick as I could. Right. So born in northern Indiana, a little town called Elkhart, and my dad was a pharmaceutical sales rep. So my dad and mom still married, and they're both in their mid 70s. Got a little brother who's one of my best friends in the whole world. Love the guy to death. Love you, Jake. And life as I was born '82, so it was like a typical '80s kid, man. Saturday morning, that was the jam. It was the only day we got sugared cereal. So it was like Lucky Charms. I remember one time there was a Super Mario Brothers cereal, um, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, all that horrible crap we're not supposed to eat. The only day the week we could have it. And my mom would pour the cereal bowls dry, and we could put the milk in it and wake up early and go watch cartoons. So of course GI Joe is at the top, top tier. Transformers. I remember I wept when they killed Optimus Prime.
Oh, you're one of them.
Yeah.
I saw it in the movie theater.
Well,
And
yeah.
so I saw it in the movie theater with a friend of mine.
Hmm.
So 87, I was born end of 75. And I remember it had nothing to do with Optimus that they said, "Oh shit." I think and they said, "Oh shit," and they said, "Damn it, open." And that's what we were shocked by. Not that they killed Optimus. That's what I remember. Like, oh my god, they said, "Oh shit," and "Damn it, open," about the trying to open up the uh, the matrix of leadership.
I was so traumatized. I don't remember any of that crap. All I remember is Optimus died, and I was like, it was catastrophic.
What made me weep was knowing years later that them killing off Optimus made it so they would not kill off Duke. That
Mm.
made me weep because I hated Duke growing up.
He's a first sergeant. I mean, who really likes their first sergeant? Matt, I know what you know what I'm talking about, buddy. And then Legos, dude. Legos were so I had the GI Joe toys, Transformers. This was the best. Like I say, it was the best era to grow up in because the Star Wars figures have been out since '77, so we could literally walk around garage sales in our neighborhood and snatch up Star Wars figures for like a quarter or a dime, and vehicles. And yeah, they were missing parts, but who cared? You
You had
were getting
imagination back then.
yeah, it didn't matter. I didn't know what it came with anyway. I didn't have the full thing. So you could go get all these cool things, at neighborhood garage sales and build your toy collection. But Legos were also a huge part of it. I think this later played into like the 3D design, part of my life. Is I still love Legos. I mean, my daughters will still put Legos together during COVID.
You realize right now the Lego people are losing their mind because you're putting an S at the end.
That's fine. I drive a lot of people crazy. I mean, look how I'm dressed. It's okay.
It's like
It's perfectly fine.
I have found that saying Legos that will set people off. Calling it a clip and not a magazine.
Yeah.
That one I learned.
Do not call it a clip unless it's an M1 Garand or an SKS.
I I had a lot of people yelling at me when I first started doing. I had no idea, and then I'd have some military people that'd be like, "Hey, it's a magazine, doesn't really bother me." Then I went and watched a video on what the difference was, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." I still don't think it's a reason to lose your mind, but it is a trigger word, and I clearly for some people.
Yeah, I don't because I understand like not everybody was dumb enough to spend 20 years in the Marine Corps. I was. So if there's one thing I walked away from for 20 years, it was been a clip in a magazine. So I do give grace, and I don't, I'm not actually
Well,
going to
I
talk
would
shit.
just like to tell you that a quick 10-minute video on YouTube would have saved you 20 years in the Marine Corps.
Well, YouTube didn't exist when I joined, and you know, in retrospect, you're probably right. I don't recommend doing 20 years in the Marine Corps. Like 1 out of 10, don't do it.
Okay, so what was like the first toys you remember? Not what you fell in love with. Now you're a little bit older, so I mean, you said you're turning 44, right? So you're 6 years, 7 years younger than I am. So by that time, a lot of those first hand-me-down toys are real toys. So what was like? Do you remember like the first toys that you had? Not what you fell in love with, but I know for like me, Adventure People, Hot Wheels, Matchbox, the Barnyard. People love the Barnyard. Do you remember like the first toys that you had that you played with?
I actually have. Want to hold? Give me 1 second, and I will show you.
Maybe he has an adventure person. I actually still have a couple, I believe. I need the boat.
So you said it, man. Adventure People.
Okay.
These, I mean, I love these. They had I remember the spaceship. They had the Land Rover, and I remember this little guy. I was, I thought it was like a bad, evil creature, and my dad's like, well, maybe it's like a nice creature. Maybe pretend it's a nice creature. And I looked at it, and I was like, well, his horn's rounded, his teeth aren't sharp. Like maybe this dude's actually pretty cool, you know.
He's just been judged.
And then so I still have these things, and yeah, so Adventure People. I gotta tell you, I don't remember what year it was, but it was probably because I was born in '82, so it might have been 1985 or six. That Christmas, my dad had he had bought I call it the Darth Vader shuttle. It had the two wings and then the one vertical, right, that would fold in.
Oh, the shuttle Tiberian.
Yeah, Tiberian. And he had that, and he had lined up on the wings Star Wars figures. And that was my first Christmas memory. I still have the ship, I still have the figures, and that was such an awesome moment in my childhood because I was like, whoa, I love Star Wars so much because he had bootlegged or copied or got the tapes so we could watch the show or the movie together. And I really love. I mean, I even have my old. It's over there, but it's the Biker Scout blaster from the '80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Johnny Reno and I know we've discussed it. The Biker Scout is the best stormtrooper, and I always love the little gun. But the Shuttle Tydarian, and I would not buy this because I don't collect Star Wars. That should be the next Star Wars HasLab, a full size Shuttle Tydarian for the 3.75 and 4 inch. I don't think you want to do 6 inch, but the original one is not full size. If they did a full size one, and they haven't done it in a long time, so I'm gonna throw that out. Hey, Hasbro Star Wars team, you can have that for free. And then we have. Oh, she changed her name.
No, that's her. That's Lynn.
Yes. Well, I mean, I can tell by the icon there. The ladies, I was about to say we have another female in here, but we don't. It's the same person. Who is Lynn? Clearly,
So Lynn, if you would do me the honors, Lynn is part of Uncle Clutch and Lady Spartan Creations. Very good friend of mine, former Marine and Army Ranger, husband and wife team. And I met him at Joe Fest last year, and he's done some really cool customs for me, and like we became great friends. Like this dude flew out to Texas, and we literally like ordered pizza and played GI Joe. Like we sorted through, the parts bins and made customs while watching like Conan the Barbarian and Black Hawk Down, and just he is significantly older than me. Not that much. He's about 9 years older than me, but he's been a life mentor and just an awesome person. And that's the beauty of Joe Fest is you get to meet these people and interact with them, and these friendships flourish. And for guys our age, it's if you're a full time dad or you're working, it's hard to meet people. But it was just an awesome connection that we have now, and yeah, can't wait to see him again at Joe Fest. But love you, buddy.
I mean, we'll get into Joe Fest later on. I think a lot of people are tired of hearing me talk about Joe Fest. You better get used to it because the run up to Joe Fest for Thursday with a Friend is completely changing. The drive to Joe Fest is what I think I'm calling it. It's completely changing for about 6 weeks. So if you're tired of hearing about Joe Fest, well, you're fucked. Anyway.
What? You probably shouldn't be on this channel. I mean, that's sort of like it's the mecca of where we go to.
That is true. I mean, I'm not just a Joe, and again, I'm not just a Joe channel. I try not to be. And I tell everyone, like, Joe Fest, you could go there and on day one get everything that you want and then never spend another dime. I know, Ed, you see all the shit I keep buying, so yeah, it's cracking shit for me. But it's just a hangout.
But I even picked up these gems. I picked up an old Boba Fett Star Wars character for like $10, and I got the Grimorian, and I bought a Garfield Happy Meal from McDonald's, little Happy Meal prize, because I love the Garfield Christmas special. So that's that part of my childhood was the Christmas specials, dude. And, I mean, even as an adult, I put those things on, and even if I might be the only one up, but I'm watching those things, and I just remember the childhood experience. Like, remember the California Raisins one with the claymation?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome one. Rudolph, Charlie Brown. I mean, the Grinch, of course. So I incorporated a lot of that into my life as a parent, as a dad. So when my kids experience Christmas, I said I want to do it bigger and better than my dad did. And we weren't like super wealthy by any means, but they always put like a special, it's just a special touch on Christmas to make it like more magical and more wonderful. So.
My moderator Action Fig says, well, year 3 you'll be a huge deal, so you'll just walk around getting shit handed to you for free. I hope so. I mean, I'm not gonna be mad if people hand me stuff for free. So Beardy McBearderson says, when is Joe Fest? Is it really worth going? It is the end of June this year, and come on, like you watch the channel you watch the channel every single week. You see the lives. I would not talk something up nearly as much as this if it's not as fun as I say it is. I would not waste my money. I don't care how much money that I've spent. Not once have I got home and been like, I can't believe I wasted my money. 2 years in a row. This will be my 3rd year. It is what I am. This is my vacation. Like every year I want to make it there because I've met so many good people. You have people coming from across the pond. Like this is where they go every single year. And I know last year we walked in and, you're seeing, some of these guys and it feels like it was a couple weeks ago you saw them last. So it is worth it. It is worth if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then, it's a vacation like anything. But you won't have a bad time. And again, you don't even have to spend a lot of money. I do because I have issues. But I wouldn't have a channel if I didn't have issues and spend a lot of money. All right.
And I'll say this. So the first time I went to Joe Fest, when I first heard about it, was on these Facebook forums. And, my oldest daughter had gotten into the new Super 7 action figures, and the guns were like total crap. So I was doing FDM printing, like printing Boba Fett costumes, Cara Dune costumes. I did Crusader helmets for my brother's kids, my nephews, and I kind of wanted to be like, well, if I got into resin printing because I wasn't there yet, is there a market for that? Like, what does it look like? And my daughter loved it. She got a picture with the guy who plays Darth Vader on the Obi-Wan uh, Star Wars series. We go eat at, there's an awesome pizza place called The Joint that's just down from the convention center. We always go there, and if you like beer, they've got awesome IPAs on draft. I saw Larry Hama at the little French bakery around the corner. Um, Even now, my girls are like, Dad, are we going to Joe Fest? I'm like, of course we're going to Joe Fest. Like, you guys going to work? Because I make them work. Like, they don't, this isn't a free ride.
Yes, you
And
did.
and then my oldest, because she has she's a little sharper, just with what she'll say. Is I remember, we typically do like a $6 each gun, whatever. Here's the deal, and someone's like, oh, it's $6, right? And she's like, oh, is $6 too much for you, sir? Is that too much to pay? I was like, there you go, girl, you get them. So she'll clap back, as the kids say, but I'm still surprised. Both of my daughters want to go to Joe Fest. I'm waiting for my wife to want to go so she can be an Asian Baroness. Like, that's something I'd like to see. I don't know if it's going to happen, but maybe one day she'll want to come and be an Asian Baroness.
So I'm going to Joe Fest, and then I'm driving straight down to Orlando. And so my ex, her sister-in-law, and my daughter are all flying down and meeting. Yes, I still get along with my ex, my kid's mother. There's nothing between us, but I'm still trying to get Olivia to come down. I'm like, I think you'll have a good time. Actually, I know she'd have a good time. And if it was like one day, but I'm like, 4 nights, she might get a little to the point where it's like, all right, but everyone knows her. I mean, she's been on the show. Her voice is all over. She butts in whenever she wants, at least on Mondays. I'm like, I know she'd have a good time, and everyone would take care of her. And again, it's even though it's kind of a guy's trip, it's because most girls aren't into GI Joe toys. That's the only reason why it's a guy's trip. It's it's not like you're going to Vegas and you're going to strip clubs and stuff, and it's like, why would the women want to go? So I would love to bring my daughter, but 4 days, 5 days, 4 days, 4 nights. I'm not sure if she'd be. She might get a little bored there. But I'm like, you can do whatever you want, but hey, you and your mom want to fly down, fly down.
Yeah, I ration the money that I give my kids, and then they'll go run off and spend it. And they're like, Dad, can we have more money? I'm like, yeah, tomorrow. And that clock resets. You don't spend all your money. How, is your daughter? You said your daughter was 17.
Oh, she's 17. Yeah.
I mean, Lily and her can hang out, dude. That might be fun. Hang out at the pool or something. That'd be dope.
I'm still trying to push it, but I told her, I said, hey, you can decide to the last day. Well, I guess you can't. If they're flying down, if her and her mom are flying down, they have to be prepared. But like, if your mom decides not to go to Florida and it's all on me, and it's just you and I, you're driving down. Like, you don't have a choice. I'm more. I'll be honest. I'm more. I don't say worried, but more concerned about having to drive all the way home from Florida alone. I'm like, I'm not driving straight through alone, so I'll be staying somewhere. I'm not sure where yet.
Yeah, I don't do more than like 8 to 10 hours a day. I used to drive from Texas, from Houston to the Houston area, all the way to Camp Pendleton, 26-hour drive. And I'd stock up on Gatorade bottles just because I know I could pee into them, and we'd chuck them out the window. And I mean, we would just, I don't do that shit anymore. I'm like, no, we're stopping. I need a dinner. I want some wine. I need a bed to sleep in. Like, I ain't doing that crap. It's going to take me 3 days to drive to California now.
A couple years ago, my stepdaughter, they moved from Grand Rapids, Michigan, her and her boyfriend, to San Diego. And it came out of nowhere. He got a job offer, and my ex was like, She's like, you're gonna have to drive with them. I was like, what? I'm like, I can't. She's like, I'll pay for you to fly back, but they can't drive alone. And they're like, they're just gonna drive straight through. I'm like, and she's like, if you don't, then I'm gonna have to do it. I'm like, first off, Susan, you've had 4 back surgeries. You cannot do this. And she's like, well, I'm like, Susan, I go, first off, they're in their 20s. They're old enough they can do this on their own, right? It's not like they have to drive straight through. And I go, plus, we're not young anymore. I can't drive 28 straight hours. Like it's no, like it's hard enough to sit in this chair for the 36 hours that I do, and I even take like a 4-hour break and let my moderator take over. Like,
Yeah, I'd be taking naps too.
Yeah, like
But-
no, it doesn't work like that.
But back to what we were talking about with that the toy upbringing, and I still secretly, even when I was in college and I had my own apartment, I was still like playing with Legos. Like I got all my Legos from my parents' house, and I would sit there in my room in college and build these things.
Well, let's get there. So, what was the first toys that you remember falling in love with?
It was the Adventure People.
Okay, so that was like you fell in love with like the Adventure People, not GI Joe, Transformers.
Well,
Like-
I mean, it's probably Adventure People and Star Wars.
Okay,
And then later on, GI Joe came on the scene. So of course, I love Star Wars, and because the Adventure People and the Star Wars figures and the GI Joes all played together.
yeah.
So like their worlds all you could mesh them into one if you're have an imagination you're playing.
Or Heathen, one or the other.
Or
I'm sorry, you cannot mix Star Wars with GI Joe. Like, someone with the aircraft carrier, someone might have heard the story before. Put the snow speeder and X-wing on it. You're like, no, that is so wrong. That is wrong in so many levels. Like,
the kind of you can't mix Star Wars and GI Joe with that attitude. I'll tell you that right now.
yeah, you're damn right.
So it was my world as a kid. Was the Adventure People kind of came first, but they were so cool, and then the Star Wars just kind of mixed together. And there were some times where just as a young kid, I was like, I can't distinguish between the two. And then they had the Adventure People, like they had their spaceship, which kind of looked like a space shuttle, and it made little sounds when you push the buttons, and you these two worlds could combine or collide or whatever you wanted them to do. And but then when GI Joe came out, it was like that was a different level with articulation and the weapons, right? So my dad would take, because my brother who's 3 years younger than me, remember that when I was telling you about all the figures lined up on the shuttle Tiberius.
Yeah.
All the little guns were taken.
Tidarian.
Oh, Tiberius.
Tiberius is James
Roman
T.
Emperor.
Kirk. That's James T. Kirk. James Tiberius Kirk.
Okay, well. But so when I got the GI Joes finally, I remember this. It was when I got the. It was one of the battle packs. My mom got it at Kmart, and it had the twins and then the twins as well. And my little brother ate one of the guns, and then my mother found it in his diaper.
But how old was he?
14. No, he was probably 2.
Okay, you found it in the diaper. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so my mom found it in the diaper, and I was like devastated because I couldn't get it back. I was like, "Well, where is it?" So you don't want it back, John. I was like, "Well, I kind of do."
Do you remember what gun it was?
I don't, man. I don't at all. But I remember like seeing like there was this cool pack of like helmets and visors and binoculars and different weapons and backpacks that could go onto them, and that sort of formed, where I am today with. I do have backpacks and different helmets and headgear and hats and other things that to kind of bring us back to where we're in the 80s, where you could customize your figure a little bit more, or kit bash or add something to it that maybe didn't exist out of the box. But it was such a great tragedy when Jake, I love you, brother. When Jake ate one of the guns, went missing. It was one that I love very dearly. It was probably an FAL because I love the FAL. So we'll just call it the FAL. Jake ate the FAL. It came out of his diaper and never seen again. So Jake owes me an FAL.
All right, so when you found G.I. Joe, was that like your new love? Like, did you totally fall in love with G.I. Joe, or did you still have other properties? Transformers, obviously Star Wars. Um, I know you're a big Ghostbusters fan too, correct?
I am a huge Ghostbusters fan.
Now, does that go back to your childhood?
That
Or
absolutely goes back to my childhood when I idolized Peter Venkman.
okay,
I mean, that was my dude. I wanted to be like Peter Venkman, and he's like flirting with the girl during the little experiment. The guy's like trying to eat pizza, he keeps shocking him, and she's like, "Is it a square?" He's like, "It is a square." And I was like, "Now this man knows how to treat the women."
even as a kid, you're like, that guy is such a dick.
No, I loved him. I thought he was amazing. I thought he was great, and I love that character to this day. So I mean, I had the with little proton packs. So I mean, we watched the real Ghostbusters, and I have the DVD set which I introduced to my girls. Remember the real Ghostbusters where they have like those stupid ice cream cone looking,
I don't
jumpsuits
remember
on.
because I was never interested in it. But
Yeah.
I know what you're talking. I mean, I know the real Ghostbusters, and I know it's huge for some people.
So now today it's not. I mean, it's cool to watch it and be like, oh, I remember that episode. But I did 3D print as much as it could be screen realistic proton packs for myself and Lily, my 13-year-old, and she was probably what that was like 4 years ago. So yeah, she was 9, and we had been Ghostbusters for several years. In fact, I had a van in Okinawa when I was stationed in Okinawa that permanently had Ghostbuster stickers and like red reflective stripes and like the yellow and black, hazard stuff on it. So my van was, even after I sold it, there were still people taking pictures of it and posting it saying, I saw the Ghostbuster van. So like Halloween is another huge holiday with us that we all dress up. Like this year I was Indiana Jones. In years past, we did Star Wars. I 3D printed Boba Fett armor, 3D printed Cara Dune armor, and my youngest just showed up and is making faces at me in her karate outfit with a McFlurry. Hi, Kate. Hi, babes. Love you. And she has some kind of McDonald's bag, so they're eating, pureed chicken scrotums or whatever they put in chicken nuggets these days.
Sounds like my daughter. She's
But
always eating. She's like, you call me fat? I'm like, I never once said you're fat. You're always eating. You and your mom will stop over here, and the first thing you do is you go to the refrigerator, and I'll be like, I thought you guys just went to dinner. We did. Why are you in the refrigerator? I just come out with cold pizza. I'm like, oh my God.
But you just jogged my memory by talking about the other toys. I completely forgot. Remember the Ghostbuster? Remember they had the Ghostbuster firehouse.
Yeah, I remember
3
the firehouse.
levels. And I still kept that even on into once I had kind of given up Ghostbusters as a kid and moved on to GI Joe. I still had that firehouse because I would use it for GI Joe play.
That thing is worth some major money if it's in good condition, I believe.
Yeah, don't tell me that because my parents made us sell them when we went to Texas. They were like, all right, you need to get rid of some toys. And the big thing's got to go. And I'm like, but I use it for G.I. Joe.
Back then, I know, like, as a kid, like, I would spend hours setting up a G.I. Joe or a Cobra base and then a half hour destroying it. And I'd use anything that you could get your hands on. That's where the imagination and it seems like we were like doing displays back then and didn't realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you weren't, I don't know if you ever incorporated. So we incorporated Constructs. Remember Constructs?
I remember.
Okay, so Constructs was kind of like not like it was more like pylons that could connect to a square with the other connecting parts. You could build vehicles. You could build like a spaceship. You could build a tank. And they had different little panels that you could insert, so camouflage and all this other stuff. And I would build a tank out of constructs. If we had connects, I'd build an airplane out of connects, and I'd make a little like GI Joe, war with like, okay, we got the tank and the airplane, and they're gonna fight. And it was just fun. Like I incorporated everything.
Yep.
Legos though, Legos stayed Legos. That was almost like a sacred like Legos only play with Legos. They
I
don't
never had
intermingle.
Lego.
You never had Lego?
No, my dad didn't like Lego and he didn't like Play-Doh.
Nobody
So-
likes Play-Doh. Play-Doh.
Yeah, my dad would always
the best.
And I don't know if they were just more expensive. And I guess I didn't really care because once I found GI Joe, I mean, I had a lot of stuff. I had some Transformers, some Star Wars, Mask, but it's GI Joe.
Oh,
Like,
Mask, dude. The
Yeah.
mighty power that can save the day.
So what I had was when we'd go over my grandmother's house, my grandfather was quadriplegic. He was paralyzed like 6 months after I was born. So he was able to move, or he didn't move, but he was able to sit and be in different spots in his wheelchair or whatever. But after his strokes, he was in the back room in their house. So to make sure we would go back there and say hi to him, my grandmother would buy stuff and put in the cabinet. And so almost always I got lock blocks. I don't even think people know what lock blocks
I don't
are.
know what that is.
It was like Lego.
But worse.
They were big. So they weren't like giant. They were just like maybe 2.5 size bigger. Like one of their main blocks would be like 2.5 sizes bigger. So you couldn't make like very detailed stuff. But I'd always have like there'd always be one, and that's the only place that I would play with it. It always would stay there. Like there'd be a new one. My sister would always get something. And the fact I don't even think I've ever heard my moderator Ed say that I remember lock blocks and he remembers everything. It's like like no one like what the fuck are lock blocks? Like
Never occurred to me. I mean, Connects would have been past your time, I think.
I know Connects.
But even
like
like
my stepbrother was big into Connects.
Even Lincoln Logs. Like I ordered a ton of Lincoln Logs off eBay once. My oldest, and I guess she was 8 or 9 when she wanted to play with action figures. I was like, oh, I know something that's super cheap, and we could build whatever you want. And Lincoln Logs. So I ordered a ton of Lincoln Logs, and instead of playing like war, they would build a restaurant and have a drive-through. So like Destro and Crocmaster like serving up fried chicken, and then like they're all driving through on the AWE Striker, like ordering stuff from the restaurant that we were playing.
That's cool. That is cool. I know that I have like my kids had Lincoln Logs, and when I was setting them on my display, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this for the ninjas, right? Kind of gives you that, that Japanese feel. And you think you have a lot of Lincoln Logs until you try and build something for 6-inch scale, and you're like, holy shit, I would need more. And then you go look at the price of Lincoln Logs, and you go, nope, we're just going to make this work. Because they get to be pretty expensive. Kind of like Thomas the Train.
Oh man, Thomas the Train, dude. My Lily fell in love with those. And I was back when Craigslist, was still like, awesome stuff like, toys and hookers and dating service. But yeah, I bought a bunch of these like Thomas wooden trains, and we would build these massive train sets together. And I think that's like because today here's an issue, right? Today's kids, mine included, spend a lot of time on electronics.
Yep.
And you're not with your parents, you're not with your family, but like to sit down with your mom and dad, or even just a friend, and physically build something together. Like that's such a wonderful memory. It's such a great experience. And it's absent.
So I used to feel the same way. And when my ex and I split up, my son, I built stuff down. I put together a game room for him downstairs, and he'd play Minecraft all the time. And you're like, all you're doing is sitting here, but then you realize like he's making friends online, which I kept saying those aren't your real friends, and now all my fucking real friends are online. Uh, but when you really look at like Minecraft, what is the difference between Minecraft, what they do building that, and us building GI Joe bases or Star Wars bases? The only thing that's different is the cleanup, and their knees won't hurt nearly as bad as ours when they're 50. If there's that, like, but they're doing the same thing. They're creating stuff, and I didn't see that till after my ex and I had split up, and I was kind of watching him build stuff, and I'm like, this is. I can see why they're doing stuff like this. For me, it will still never replace. It's
Yeah.
like the guys that like they know skateboarding because they play the Tony Hawk game, and you're like, yeah, the Tony Hawk game is pretty cool, but you should actually go out and try and ride.
Yeah,
that
try a
skateboard.
skateboard.
You
Kind of
know,
fun.
it's a lot of fun.
I would fall off. That's why I don't do it.
Yeah, but you were shooting people. Well, shooting at people. I don't want to say
Yeah. Well,
you were sending warning shots to people.
yeah, I was. Yeah.
I totally came off wrong. If I could edit
I
that,
was building freedom. Don't worry about it. It's okay. We're good, dude. It is interesting you bring that up though, because of like the worlds that my kids build online, it is with friends who they have met in person, and some of them are just geographically separated because of being in a military family, we move around a lot. So my daughters have like these Minecraft worlds they've built with friends who they've actually met and grew up with, who they now continue to like, oh, we're gonna add onto the house, and they'll show them like, oh, Dad, we built this house, blah blah blah. So that's valid to to a degree.
my son was doing that, and I remember like someone would ruin his house. I'm like, how did someone ruin your fucking house? Isn't it your
He got
game?
married.
All right, so as you start going into middle school, like let's say you go from elementary to middle school, are you still playing with toys? Now you already mentioned you were doing Lego while you were in college, and I feel like a lot of people also, and I haven't really talked about this with people. Lego is still like that building, just like reading comics. You can hide it with that. Oh, I'm reading, right?
Yeah.
So, are you still playing with toys going into middle school? Now, you have a brother. You said 3 years younger, so you do have that. Oh, those are my brother's toys, right?
No. So my brother, and we still talk about this today. I'd be upstairs building my Lego castle like all gray pieces. Like no, like we're not mixing yellow and white and red. No, this is gonna look legit. That dude would come upstairs and wind up his foot like Looney Tunes and smash it. Then I'd whoop that ass, and my dad would come upstairs screaming at me, and I'm like, "Well, he broke my Lego castle. Like, why are you mad at me? Like, I'm just retaliating." But I did.
It's funny. I'm sorry. I think it's funny that you can mix and match Star Wars, Adventure People, and GI Joe, but your Lego castle has to be all gray and be perfect.
I might be on the spectrum. It wouldn't be the first time that I've been accused of that. That's okay. Like, I think it's a
I get
feature,
it.
it's a feature, not a bug.
I definitely get it. Believe me, I do.
So yeah, up until I think I was probably like 13, I was still playing with Legos, and then I became too cool for that. So those went away. But then I was in college. I was like, you know what? Because the Star Wars Legos started to come out, and I was like, well, these are actually pretty badass, and like, I can do this in my apartment. It's totally cool. My girlfriend won't mind.
Right, well, so when you go into high school, are the toys put away? Are the
Yeah,
toys?
actually, it was, yeah, it was. I want to say probably 14 years where I was like put everything into a box and basically my parents like, hey, I need this out of my room. Can you put it in the garage? And the toys went away, but something else developed. I started reading, and it's not an accurate publication by any stretch of the imagination, but it was still spurred on by my love for GI Joe, and then looking at the individual weapons. I started reading Soldier of Fortune magazine.
Oh,
So, if you want
were
to
you trying
reference,
to hire the A team?
it was all a dream. I used to read Soldier of Fortune magazine, to reference the late Biggie Smalls. But so that still continued, and then we used to go play guns in the woods and make forts and all that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stuff too. But my interest in military history and weapons, and battles, whether it was Vietnam or World War II, um, still continued. That's why I pursued the most useful degree in the world, which is a degree in history. Most useless. It's not that useful. Uh, so I was GI Joe, and the weapons, and just what I saw on that show was like, well, I'm very interested in the military. Let me explore that further. What's ironic though, is you remember the GI Joes had the ninjas, the ninja phase came
Oh yeah.
out,
Yeah, Ninja Force.
Ninja
We got a whole
Force,
bunch.
and
We're getting more,
Karate.
guys. We're getting more. More coming.
We got Karate Kid and all that stuff. And I asked my mom, I was like, I want to take karate or taekwondo, and she said, John, that is violent. We are not doing that. So what did I choose as a profession? Marine Corps infantry. Maybe if my mom had let me in that karate class, I'd have been like all zen like, and like, no man, I'm just gonna be a gardener and like make these bonsais. Instead I was like had this repressed like, no, I want to go like do man things.
So when you're in high school, like you're reading about like weapons and military. Are you into sports or anything like that?
I was in
Hi.
football. That's Kately. She can't hear you because I'm on headphones,
Oh,
but
that's
she's my
true.
youngest. She says it's really loud. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's excited about Joe Fest. She loves Joe Fest. But to answer your question, yeah, military history was
The faucet
was
broke
uh-oh.
on the tub. Did you know?
No.
Just do it.
Okay.
It's not like it's just super loose and like I don't know. I'll check it out.
I guess my faucet on my bathtub broke, and I need to be told right now.
Can you ask mommy to put some wine in there? Thank you. So yeah, I developed a keen interest in military history, in weapons, and everything about them was so interesting. I dated this, not dated. I mean, I was, so we didn't really date. We just kind of hung out at each other's houses when our parents would let us. And this chick had found a stack of Soldier of Fortune magazines in our neighbor's trash and was like, "Oh, I think you'd love these." And so I got these Soldier of Fortune magazines, and I was like, "Oh, this is good. Oh, look at the awesome weapons in here." And it just became a fascination of mine, with military weapons, the history of them, how they were developed, when they were developed. You can look at like weapons that were developed in World War II, and then how the G3 and AK-47 came into the world, and the connection and the engineering behind it, and it was just really fascinating. So that interest, it just stoked the fire. It wasn't like GI just had a picture. If I ever playing football, he asked about sports and low crawling, because we had to do air raids with like high knees, get down. It resembled what I thought military training was like, and I enjoyed that aspect. And I was like, okay, like we're low crawling, like dreaming that I'm Rambo or Duke or maybe I didn't like Duke, but Beachhead, like low crawling.
I didn't like Beachhead either.
What? You don't?
I do.
Beachhead.
No, okay,
Bro,
I've changed on Beachhead. I've changed. I did not like Beachhead. I don't know why, because everything about him, and I'll tell you what. Like I even think I put Duke as like he was in my number one or number two figure of the year, and when the retro one came out, and Beachhead was like right up there too. So, quickly, Uncle Clutch became a channel member. So thank you very much.
Welcome to the Creamery.
And one of my Circle of Jerks counterparts, he says, "Is that rich mahogany I spy back behind you?"
It is rich, the richest mahogany you'll ever find.
Then he also wants to say about the faucet. Baths are very important, Larry. Wash your ass. Hey, it wasn't me. It's how it comes. You know, my son comes in and he'll stand there and look at me. And I'm like, okay, first off, you're behind me. You're 19. At least walk over here or write something down. Like, I'm doing a show. I'm talking to somebody. He'll stand there like those idiots that I have to deal with that will stand at my copier while I have it ripped apart and wait like 2 minutes and go, "So it's probably not going to print anything, is it?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's fucking shit's all over the damn place." You go to your fucking mechanic when the engine is ripped apart and be like,
"This thing ain't going to start, is it?" No, it ain't going to start, man.
And I get it all the time because there's a lot of dumb idiots in this world. And then quickly,
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Uncle Clutch with the $1.99 super chat, or maybe it was a super sticker, or I think he missed it because he threw another one in here and said Beachhead was a ranger, pay him his proper RLTW. What the hell's that?
I don't know.
Okay, either way, he gets the.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
That song is way longer than I realized it. It has words and everything.
I think it's great. I love it.
It's
I love hearing it.
It's Shane McMahon's music. Like, there's actual words. I'm like, I've never heard any of that. And War Chest has joined us. All right, so you're in high school, and I would say you don't sound like you were a typical like high schooler. Like, not.
Oh, dude, I got a picture for you.
I mean, getting
fun.
into like the idea of like military weapons and the history. I don't, and again, I've had a lot of people on here that have served. I haven't really heard anyone say that they got into that. But now, did you graduate? You said you went to college, so you graduated high school, correct?
Yeah, so I graduated high school, but and then I went to college.
Now, I only asked that because I once said, so after you graduate high school, and the guy goes, "I didn't graduate high school." I'm like, son of a bitch. So I always got a preference like, so did you graduate high school?
I did. I graduated high school, and my parents were very insistent.
Rangers lead the way, is what they're saying.
Rah.
But Rangers are Army, are they not?
Yeah, well, you know, they're all right. They're cool. I support them. Yeah, so I graduated high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so when I graduated, it would have been, would have been like May 2001. So I already had plans to go to college. I was going to study computer science because back in the day, so back in high school, I guess this will tie back into it. I became this like goth punk kid.
All right.
So I listened to, I started off with like my punk phase, NoFX, some old school Rancid, got into industrial music with like Skinny Puppy, Frontline Assembly. I don't look like it now, but I still sometimes throw those jams back on. And then I got into some goth, some 80s goth, Sisters of Mercy. What else do I listen to that's like old school goth? Susie and the Banshees. I love the Smiths. They're not really goth. But the goth kids love them.
I wouldn't call Susie and the Banshee goth.
Maybe.
I really wouldn't call Morrissey goth.
No, I wouldn't call Morrissey goth or the Smiths. No, he's his own thing. But all those interests still remain in the back of my mind. In fact, the Sisters of Mercy have a song where their lyrics are just the specifications of the AK-47, like overall length 840 millimeters or centimeters, and it's like length of sighting line 540 centimeters, overall weight 1.2 kilograms, and I was like, this is the greatest song ever written. Right. So here's a picture of me in college with me and my buddies, and there were some punk rockers, and I'm over there flicking everybody off with the black hair.
I believe you showed me this before.
I might have, and then here's me. I started I started playing with synthesizers. This is super embarrassing. Yeah, right.
And somehow you ended up in the Marines.
Oh, here's another my smoking jacket around Halloween time with a Bauhaus t-shirt on and a Halloween pumpkin.
Oh my gosh. You have no shame.
That's why I joined the Marines. No shame in that game.
Well, Uncle Clutch here says, we enjoyed rescuing both SEALs and Marines. I can't speak for you, but I kind of feel like Sergeant Reds, Sarge, he might have a different feeling on that one because he was a Marine. So,
well, just to put it aside, a Marine killed JFK. Chris Kyle. I'm sure there's other. I got dark real quick, but Matt knows I'm just playing. So it's like,
I was trying to figure out the Chris Kyle, and I'm like, all right, well, we know what Chris Kyle, and they're like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The person that killed him, not all the people he killed.
Yeah.
It's okay. People will say it's too soon, and my always say it's never too soon. We have 3D Trooper jumping in here, Troy jumping in, and then Patriot Force USA saying,
"Oh, Patriot Force,
first time joining live. Good to see John on here. You know what? Even though I've met you and had a long talk, you get the where the hell is it?
Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. You gotta understand, man. I never even saw these assholes before.
I had a long talk with him and his family, and he shared a lot of things that, not that I didn't already know, but very interesting. I hope he's going to be at Joe Fest again this year.
As do I. Like, I think your designs are awesome, man. And I know, like, I spoke earlier about doing something injection molding versus 3D printing, but you have enough creativity, and from what I saw, like, you could start producing stuff on your own, to raise some of that funding. And I want to encourage you to do it, man. You've got it in you. Everything you've done is awesome. Like, please keep producing. You and me can get together and figure out a way, like, what should you do, and then and keep it coming, right? Hit me up, man.
It says we are still coming, just self-funding. We will be at Joe Fest. I feel like, I know him and I talked, like, it was, I think, the final day, and we talked about a lot of things. And just by talking to him and his family, I feel like even though it failed, I feel like it hadn't failed at that point, but he was learning, and it felt like he was actually taking in the things like, this is what I've done wrong. Maybe I kind of associated with some of the wrong people. I didn't associate with some of the right people. Like there's so many things to be learned in any type of process. It's the people that try and do another GoFundMe, or not a GoFundMe, a Kickstarter, and they do the exact same thing, and you're like, dude, it failed once and you didn't change anything. You just came back and were like, hey, let's do it again. So he seems like he really has a good head on his shoulders. And such a nice guy too.
And I think that what he's doing has so much potential. You just have and I made this mistake because Top 5 Retro Toys 3D isn't the first business I've ran. I actually had a firearms industry business for a while. And I made a lot of mistakes there. I still make mistakes now, but I think what Patriot Force is doing I think if you started on a little bit smaller scale and then produced and then grew, because they were going big, they were going like, we're going to do these awesome things. It was such an awesome concept, I think. But start a little bit smaller and then grow, because I know you've got the creativity and the design capacity in you. I love what you're doing, man. Don't give it up. This is what I mean. I love what I do. Like, I love what I do.
And I'll say that I'm not sure if you should go with the Iranian leader or not, because if you do go with an Iranian leader, you're constantly putting out new leaders. But then people might be mad that they don't get to use him long enough.
Well, you have an 18 pack, or you have a pack with 18 different heads. You can swap.
18. I came across one of those memes, and it was just a skeleton, and it said, "Iran has elected like a dead person already. This way, it just cuts out the middle person."
But I will say this though, like, my views on war as a young man versus where I am now are vastly different. Like, I joke about what's going on, in Iran, but I went from thinking like war is like this awesome badass adventure to like war is a horrible thing that no one should ever experience, but it is an inevitability at some point. So I still laugh and joke about it, but I'm like, hey man, like,
That's your coping mechanism.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I feel that if anyone is the exact same person as they were when they were 18, when they're 50 years old or 40.
Yeah, it's not grown.
Now, I look at myself and I'm like, if you looked at me, it's an evolution. But there's a lot of people that from high school that didn't like me. And if they still think that I'm the same person, well, it's understandable. I'm never going to try and get someone to change. But I feel like if you're still that exact same person, it goes back to that person that still thinks that there's popularity once you graduate. There's not. It's long gone. But there are some people that still think like that. But again, like if you're thinking the same way you were when you were 18 joining the military, well, you weren't 18, you were. But I feel like then you haven't evolved.
Well, that's actually a funny story because I wasn't 18, and I was in college. I was probably a sophomore, and I was in the I was a junior, and I was in the OSO program from the Marine Corps, and the OSO program is the Officer Selection Officer. So it's a stupid, redundant way of saying this is the officer recruiter, and we showed up 3 times a week. We do like 5-mile runs, do pull-ups, all this other kind of crap, and the OSO would wear these awesome shirts that would say like, front towards enemy, or the Marine Corps, meet interesting people, travel to foreign places and kill them. And I found out that he was an administrator. He was an adjutant. So he was like a paper pusher. And I was like, well, why are you wearing all these cool shirts, man? Like, if you ain't getting some. And then one day we were having a conversation about leadership. So they brought all of us candidates in, and we're talking about leadership. And I said something to the effect of, now bear in mind, I had already taken the physical and the ASVAB, so I was qualified to join the officer corps. But we were talking about leadership, and they were like, John, what do you think about leadership? And I said, I don't give a shit about leadership. I want that 249 like in Black Hawk Down. His immediate reaction was to say, Staff Sergeant, take Mr. Kreutzer to see the enlisted recruiter. I asked the Staff Sergeant, I said, well, what's going to happen? He goes, oh, you can get that infantry job you wanted. And that was that. In 2004, I was contracted as an infantry. And like UH 03XX, which I became an 0311, which is basic rifleman. And that was that. It never would have done it differently. I would not have survived OCS or the officer bullshit at that point. I later became an officer in my career. Never should have, but whatever. You
should go back and watch my Thursday with a Friend with Toy Domination. and he talks about when he joins the military, and he's a much taller guy. I don't know if you've ever met him. I know you've seen him because he's at Joe Fest.
I'm a
He's
solid 5'11", by the way.
Yeah, he's in his six, and he talks about how scrawny he was, and they're like, he's like, the army saw it as like, oh, you're a big tall guy. Here, you get the machine gun. He's like, I couldn't hold the machine gun. He's like, I had no muscle on me. It's a very now he's not like that anymore. Now he's a very thick, well muscular guy.
Like me.
But I think you would enjoy that. He has some he's pretty funny because when I asked him what rank he was, and I went, so you're like one of the higher, like there's not many people ranking higher than you on a base. And he's like, well, that's not true. And he's like, I work in the Pentagon. I'm like, well, you're in the Pentagon. And he goes, yeah, there's times that I've been on a base, and I'm like, it is embarrassing that I'm the highest ranking person.
You know what was embarrassing was a couple years ago I did the final exercise for MDIOC, which is a MARSOC intelligence course. And it was over the Marine Corps birthday ball. So one of our traditions is the oldest Marine gives the piece of cake to the youngest Marine. And I was like 41. I'm training with MARSOC. And this other kid's 19. And I'm like, they're like, hey, where's Chief Warrant Officer Kreutzer? I'm like, oh, I'm here. Like, am I in trouble? Like, I didn't get arrested. Like, hands up, don't shoot. Like, no, you're the oldest Marine. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, fuck you. Like, no, for real. Like, you got to do the cake thing. So I feed this 19-year-old like this, like, and I make him open up, and it's the most awkward moment of this kid's life. Like, hey, welcome to the Marine Corps. You want to play gay chicken, dude? Marine Corps is going to win. So I feed this kid the piece of cake, and I'm like, damn, I'm the oldest person here.
It's funny, like I said, especially now, but even when I was younger, for sure, if I'm at the gym, I'm like, if I'm like the strongest person in the gym, I don't want to be at this gym. Like, I should never be the strongest person. And nowadays, I'm like, unless I'm the only person at the skate park, I should not be the best skateboarder here. I'm 50 years old. Right? I should not be the best one here. You know? So I understand the whole, like, I'm the oldest. No, this is wrong. Like, there's got to be somebody older, especially at 41. It's really not old, but.
Well, there is a saying, beware the old man who plays the game where men die young.
Yeah. All right. So you go to college. What do you go to college for?
All right. So in high school, I just got to just build it up. We weren't playing with action figures, but what we were playing was a game called Counter-Strike.
Okay.
Remember Counter-Strike?
I do not.
So Counter-Strike was basically a terrorist versus your top tier counter-terrorists. So you had like the GIGN, GSG-9, Navy SEALs, or you could play a terrorist. And it was a first-person shooter multiplayer game. So we'd have these parties. We'd all show up with our computers, which my nerd friends had taught me to build. So I was like a wizard on Windows 98, man. Like, I could like type in prompts and like do all this crap and like hook it up hard drives. Now I'm like a functional moron when it comes to computers. So we would play these military games, and I'm like, oh, I know the MP5. Like, that's awesome. Oh yeah, you get the FAL. It's badass. The Desert Eagle, like, is probably pretty worthless. It's kind of stupid and like for movies.
You know what? Hey, I just want to say, my daughter and I have been watching 90210, and I love it. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I love it. And Dylan just got carjacked, and now he's like on this tear of going to the gun range, and he grabbed the big Desert Eagle. And I said it to my daughter, I'm like, that's a Desert Eagle. That's a big gun.
He should have grabbed was an ATM hardballer from Terminator 2, and these will drop this weekend at www.topfunretrotoystudio.com. But I hear you, man. Yeah, so
that was pretty smooth. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I thought you were gonna show a real gun, and I was getting a little worried because YouTube will like knock you right off.
Yeah, no, I know better than that.
Okay, I was like, "Mm."
No. I know.
I'm about to get knocked off.
Yeah, I don't know what your political leniencies are, but I don't trust the government.
It's not the government; it's YouTube that I'm worried about.
Well, YouTube, the government, whatever. Like, I'm like, I don't trust them. Like, we'll keep it about action figures as we're here to talk about. Yeah. So Counter Strike again, like, kept that fire alive of GI Joe, of military stuff, and then I started dating this woman. Her dad was a retired Marine lieutenant colonel. Even though I was like goth and like punk and stupid, like this dude really liked me for some reason. And he started taking me to the gun ranges and taught me to shoot. And then later on worked for Blackwater. So I got to go to both the Moyoc site and the Chula Vista site once it opened up. In fact, when I went to boot camp, we did our Battle Site Zero. Surprisingly enough, the drill instructors are super nice to you when you're on the range with live rounds. Like, they don't mess with you. They're like, "Oh, good job, young man. Like, you're doing great." I'm like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna tell me a piece of shit, but okay." So they're super nice to you on the range.
When you have live rounds,
Oh, they're real
nice
nice.
to you.
Yeah, they're super nice. So like, "Hey, you're doing good, young man. I'm proud of you." Like, "Oh, okay, thanks, Dad." You know? But one of the instructors was like, "Where did you learn to shoot like this?" You know, because like most people's groups were like, even after training, were like that. Whereas I could like hit 36 yards at the BZO, hit a quarter. And they're like, "Where'd you learn to shoot?" And I said, "Blackwater." And they're like, "Were you a contractor there?" I was like, No. I just did some training with like a friend of mine, like family friend, like learned how to shoot. Not a big deal. You know, I wouldn't some kind of like badass or anything. But you know, again, that they just kept reinforcing this weapons, this tactics, and in building it. So when I was in college, I had this reinforcement from my girlfriend's dad, who kept, you know, he taught me how to shoot, how to draw from concealed, how to present. You know, even to this day, like I credit, you know, I've shot competitively, but he was the foundation for all of that. And you know, I to this day we still keep up, um, even though, you know, his daughter and I have gone separate ways. But I respect him as a warrior and a friend, and he taught me a lot. Um, you know, in fact, I remember he pulled out a. It must have been an SP1 Colt, like old school era AR-15 model off the M16A1. And he's like,
Yeah.
"If you guys get married, this will be your wedding gift." And I was like, "Okay, we're getting married." Yeah, obviously, he saw something in me that, you know, either didn't exist or I never saw. But they kept that fire alive, and he gave me a book called Bravo 20, which is about an SAS operation during the Gulf War. Uh, I think it was largely embellished because a gentleman named Chris Ryan wrote a counter to that. He was on the same mission. Uh, they're like, "Yeah, it wasn't that awesome, and it wasn't that cool, but you know, we did what we did." And that sort of like, okay, now I know my destiny. It's like, now we're going into the military. And I thought, like, all right, well, I'm not fit enough to become a SEAL. I'm not a swimmer. I was a realist. I was like, okay, I'm not fit enough to become a SEAL. I'll get kicked back to like peeling potatoes. Special forces, like, probably not cut out for that. Army infantry, probably pretty easy. Marine Corps, well, they're a little bit different. You know, they're more like a cult, and they're weird. But I could probably handle that, and I would be like a little bit above just an entry level soldier in the army.
All right, so quickly, Russell Lemieux says, "Why does YouTube knock people off for guns when they have gun channels?" Well, now I'm not positive, but from when I've looked into it, one thing is I'm not a gun channel. You do register like what type of channel you are in many ways, but because this is live, so if you're doing a if you record something, there's checks and balances when you upload it. It checks for anything to be demonetized, things that are inappropriate. When it's a live stream, it could be anything, and they don't want to be held responsible if somebody does something inappropriate, with a firearm. So that, I believe, is the reason why. But I've got knocked off because somebody showed off their their Mandalorian blaster that they made out of wood. Yeah, they showed that, and YouTube caught it and knocked me off. And I
Are
had
we
no
still
idea.
are we still live on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Destro's gunned it. All right, that's good. Or Destro's.
Oh no. That
prop.
was so small. I mean, you got to think. I mean, I mean, I'm showing weapons, but again, I also don't like. I don't really show off any of the weapons like during a live stream. Everything is recorded. So, Matthew here said, my moderator, my other moderator, never trust the government ever.
I worked for them for 20 years. You're correct. You are correct, my friend.
No, but Russell, I mean, you say that it's insane, but imagine if somebody pulls out a firearm and they take their own life. YouTube does not want that because first off, they would be sued, or they take out a firearm and they take someone else's life. Like, they don't want to be responsible. And if I'm YouTube, I wouldn't want that either. Where again, like if it's something that's pre-recorded, when it uploads, it goes through all kinds of checks and balances. So, but
my daughter just walked in. Come here, Kate. Hey, you walked in the live stream. You're gonna be part of it now. Show them what you wrote. That is so cute.
Hold on, let me enlarge it. You can read it. I can't.
It's also backwards. Happiness.
It is pink.
Man.
Happiness sounds like a concert. It tastes like a candy store. It smells like a field of flowers. Happiness looks like a fluffy ball. It makes me feel happy. Kate, I still don't know.
Kaylee Kreutzer. I love you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Is it just one person?
Huh?
Is it just one person?
Well, it's just me and him, but there's other people watching.
Oh.
They're gonna go to Joe Fest, though. You excited about Joe Fest? Yeah. What are you most excited for Joe Fest for? I don't know if you can hear her.
Making money to buy things.
She said making money to buy things.
Oh, I can hear her. I could hear her.
I love you, sweetheart. Thank you. A lot, maybe. They're gonna watch it forever. It's gonna be on YouTube. So you're famous.
I'm famous.
All right.
Subscribe.
She said to subscribe, so make sure you subscribe.
Yes, and if you watch back, tell your dad you deserve a raise.
Wait, what?
Hey, if she can talk those people into like when buying the guns and tell them like, yeah, it's only $6.
That was my oldest. This is my youngest.
Oh, okay. Well, now she knows this one too.
Yeah. So, but she'll be sharpened for the event. I'm excited.
How old is your oldest?
13. My youngest is 11.
Okay. Yeah. So they're right in the same age range then.
Yeah.
All right. So you're in college. You decide I'm going to join the Marines. It sounds like I'm sorry. What?
I'll walk it back a little bit. So during my freshman year, I was a computer science major.
Okay.
Horrible decision. Like, I didn't realize. I thought computer science would involve me hooking up new hard drives and making a LAN network and playing Counter-Strike. That is not the case with computer science. You have to do this thing called math, and I'm really bad at it. I don't have an appetite for it. I appreciate it now, but I'm like, I can't do it. So September 11 happens, and I'm like, I felt like I should do something, because I also grew up in high school. Band of Brothers came out. Saving Private Ryan came out. These were legacy. These were heroes. my grandfather, and you'll see that flag right there. That's his burial flag, which is also my retirement flag. He served in the Navy in the Battle of Okinawa. My father, thankfully, he did not serve in Vietnam. But in my mind, I could not imagine having grandkids one day asking, because I used to watch a lot of the History Channel. That was my jam. It was like building Legos. Why watch History Channel? I couldn't imagine if my grandkids are sitting upon my knees saying, "Granddad, what did you do in the war?" And if I was like, "Well, I stayed home with the women and children." Not again, it was a juvenile response, but I felt compelled to do something. And my parents were like, "All right, no, that's a bad idea. Finish college, and then you can go play G.I. Joe." And that's exactly what I did.
Okay, so you did finish college.
Yes, I graduated with a degree in history and a minor in art history. So if you ever want to talk, the Renaissance greats like Caravaggio, my favorite painter of all time, we could have another episode on that. But we'll that's for a later time, perhaps. So I felt compelled just to do something. It was weird, the political environment, and I wouldn't do anything any other way. But I also think that like we were led to believe something different, than what actually was, in terms of like we probably never should have invaded Iraq. Any rate, I was super gung ho about it. So before I even graduated college, I was already in the OSO program. That's when the staff sergeant took me to the enlisted recruiter and said, "You might be a better enlisted man than an officer," and he was 100% correct. Because when I later became an officer, I was not a very good officer. But yeah, that's kind of where that landed.
So those movies, like they did kind of push you that way. Like,
100%. It was like, I mean, even the title Band of Brothers, which is a book. Before that was "This is what a nation does when called to duty." Again, now I have a very different. I won't share this, but I have a different outlook on being called to duty in a war. But at the time, I thought like, yeah, that's what young men do, and I felt compelled to do it.
okay,
So I enlisted in the
For
Marine
20
Corps
years.
infantry. Yeah.
for 20 years.
Well. Okay. So you
No,
have a wife, you have a kid. You're like, well, shit, man. What am I gonna go out and do now?
I get it. I mean, I didn't serve. I didn't serve. And again, I have respect for every single person that served in any branch. I know people will make fun of the Coast Guard, but I watched the Coast Guard here in Michigan because, believe it or not, we have a coast. And they do a job. They have to go rescue those idiots that want to ice fish when it hits 60 degrees and they break away. And I'm sorry, they should watch them just float away. That is thinning the herd.
You know what the Navy and Coast Guard call that lake? Not the Great Lakes. They call it the Lake of Great Mistakes.
It is. It honestly is. Like every year, the Coast Guard is saving some idiots that decided to go out in their shanty when it's warming up and that big piece of ice just breaks away. And you're like, we all knew it was going to happen. It's been 50 degrees for the past 2 weeks. How long did you think that ice was going to stay there?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, but no, that's like so I have respect for everyone that served because I didn't, but I know what you mean by like, when my ex and I, when we had our son, and she had a daughter, that I was raising. Yeah, you kind of you stick with it. Maybe a job that I've been at my job for 25 years, but you stay with the job, do some down times because you need an income. Like you need to support your family.
Yeah.
Most people, not everyone, unfortunately.
No, and that's the most important thing. And even at 17 years, I had completely fallen out of love with the Marine Corps, with the institution, with a total, uh, disagreement with just how our government was operating in any capacity. It was just like, no, this is all weird and wrong. And I was like, I just want to resign. Because officers can resign. They can say, like, look, here's my resignation. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I'm done. Now, it has to be approved, of course. But sounder voices talked me on to, like, hey, just finish your time because there's medical insurance, there's a pension, there's a lot of money. You're walking away from a lot.
And how
So
close were you? How close? You had 17 years. You have 3 more years.
3 more years, and I
It'd
was
be
like,
stupid to walk away, right?
that's what a lot of people told me.
It's like listen. I went to school with a girl. She got pregnant her senior year, and she dropped out like 6 weeks before graduation. Like, you could have stuck. I mean, you were going to graduate. You had 6 weeks to go. Why would you drop out of school now?
What's funny you say that is one of my many jobs that I've had. I've worked a lot of jobs through high school and college, but for 3 years I worked at Papa John's Pizza, and I was promoted to shift manager. So I was the lowest level manager you could have, and my manager, the store manager, who made, and this was back in like 1999, he made $36,000 a year, and he looked at me dead in the eye and was like, I was one semester away from graduating. No matter what you do, just freaking graduate.
I couldn't agree anymore. I mean,
You're that close, just do it. And then you might not use it, which I haven't. I've never really used my degree. It wasn't required to become a warrant officer because they're not like unrestricted officers.
okay.
But I've never formally used my degree. I may be taking a teaching position at a school, part-time teaching position in the fall, but that's still to be decided. But that's more of a personal family decision than it is, an economic decision.
So you joined the Marines because of 9/11. I was laid off on Friday. 9/11 happened on Tuesday. And I'm like, I need to find a job. I have this job that I've been there for 25 years now, specifically because I'm like, I'll take anything. And this guy actually comes back. He came back and now he works. He's the shipping and receiving guy. They had rehired him back, and he was going to, and they were going to fire this other guy on 9/11. But Jimmy is a Navy reservist, and every time there was a conflict, he went over to Italy because he was a police officer there. And they said on 9/11, they watched it happen, and the guy that hired me looked at Jimmy and goes, "You're going, aren't you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," because he was so close to retiring. They knew that there was no way he's going to give up that pension, nor should he. And the guy they were going to fire, and I didn't know him. He was my girlfriend's brother's roommate. He's the one that got me the job. And then come to find out like a year later that I was hired to replace the guy that got me the job. So 9/11 is the only reason why I have this job, believe it or not.
It changed the course of many people's lives.
Oh yeah. In many ways, not just
It changed a lot. And I will get into my theories about that.
It just changed things.
It changed things greatly.
Yeah, how you fly on an airplane. It changed those, the firefighters and police officers in New York. It changed a lot, And again, it's not about how you feel about things, but you're right. It changed.
It definitely did, yeah.
Just like I remember during the pandemic. My kids were obviously younger, but my son says to me, he goes, is this like 9/11? And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, everyone says like 9/11 was 9/11 was certain people's Pearl Harbor. He goes, is this like our 9/11? And I go, no. I go, because 9/11 happened and it was over. Like 9/11 happened in one day. It happened. It was over. Things were put in play. We're in the middle. We weren't even in the middle of the pandemic yet. And I'm like, we don't know when this is going to end. Like, this is a long drawn out where like 9/11, Pearl Harbor, those were one day events that changed everything. Hell, I think there's people that are still think that, well, I still believe there are people still in their bunker from Y2K.
Time for Y2K. Well, you know what's interesting though is that the events of 9/11 did perpetuate damn near a 20-year conflict.
Oh yeah.
So the ripple effects were like.
But I'm saying, like, he was asking me, like, wow, like, again.
Is this our call to duty? Like, what do we do to fix this? And like,
yeah,
nothing
like,
you can do to fix it.
And again, like, there's no way for him because he's born in 2006. So there's no way for him to understand, like, just like there was no way for us, to understand what Pearl Harbor did. Pearl Harbor changed things in a moment. You didn't have the internet. 9/11, the internet was growing, but we all watched it happen. The pandemic was like, this is like watching soccer. It's slow. It's boring.
Painful.
Painful. I'm
glad our views on soccer are the same.
Oh yeah. Hey, I made it through the pandemic. I made it through the pandemic unscathed. How I never got it, I don't know. I was in and out of nursing homes, and Michigan was one of the worst because our governor, along with the New York governor, I think the New Jersey governor, said, "Hey, everyone that has this, let's throw them in nursing homes. With the people that have the worst
immune system. Yeah, brilliant.
So yeah, I was in and out of nursing homes all the time because I fixed copy machines, and they're one of our biggest clients. One of those large nursing home systems, and I made it through unscathed somehow. So to this day, I never got that whatever it is, the flu.
Yeah, it made me really sleepy for a couple days, and I got lots of time off of work. It was great. Like back in the day, like if you even told your commanding officer, "Hey, I think I have COVID symptoms," like, "Oh, nope, stay away."
Yep.
Get out. Like, well, there's a week off of work.
My ex got it, and she had it bad multiple times. My kids got it. Myself, my boss, and one other guy at work are the only ones that never got it. And the other guy at work, like this guy, he doesn't take care of himself. He's the Navy guy. He doesn't take care of himself. How the fuck did Jimmy never get it? Who the fuck did Jimmy's always sick. Like he never feels good.
Yeah, Jimmy's 60 pounds overweight, smokes a pack a day. And it's like, how are you not sick, Jimmy?
A pack a day would probably be a lowball estimate. At least a pack and a half a day. And I mean it, like, goddamn, Jimmy.
God bless him,
God bless him.
God bless him.
When I die, I'm going. All right, Jimmy. That's all right.
What's crazy is we went on a road trip to visit some friends back in a Marine friend who lived in Indianapolis. He was stationed there. And being back in Indiana, I visited my grandmother at the time.
I just want to say, Todd, I saw someone today that I talked to that was in a mask, and I was just like, okay.
So I did live in Japan, and they love wearing masks in Japan.
Well, that's the whole thing. And that's so true because I'm watching skate videos and you see like them skating in Japan and all these people, and this was way before the pandemic. Like they're all fucking wearing masks.
Yeah, that was a thing. Like they loved. You would see people in their own car with no one else in them, or in the car with them, and they're wearing masks. And it's like,
And how many people, when we were able to remove the masks, did you go, "Whoa, fuck, put that thing back on"?
typically the British, because they have, bad dental care. You don't want to see those.
You're just like, come on, come on, do something with the teeth, like brush them every now and then. All right. So you joined the Marines. You're in there for 20 years. How does that go for you? Because you met your wife while you were in the Marines, correct?
Right. So I started off in the infantry. I did 2 tours to Iraq. One of the most interesting aspects of that is I was able to teach myself enough Arabic, and I've forgotten most of it, to where we could go out at night without an interpreter, so I could talk to uh, whoever's house we were visiting that night, call them down, tell them to bring your family here. We're just going on the roof to look for bad guys. Like, what was it? Ani shuf muzen nas. Like, I'm looking for bad people. Like, jiba like inta maku taftish. I learned enough Arabic to teach the Iraqi army how to shoot. Like, Makzain bil sandug, like locking the AK magazine into the rifle. Irmi, maku imri, like no fire, no fire. Uh, so I learned. I had a language capability, and that was a lot of fun. But then I met these dudes. They were so cool. They wore flight suits. They had these big fuzzy mustaches. They wore like the Jackass holsters with the M9. They didn't give a shit. They didn't talk. They would call them like Captain Nate or Captain Chris. And they weren't captains. They were like sergeants. But everybody treated with the highest level of respect. And I was like, I don't know what those guys do, but I want part of that. And that was human intelligence, counterintelligence. So I began to talk to these guys and be like, hey, how can I help you? Like, what you guys are doing is awesome. Like, how can I be, because I was a fire team leader, which is like a low level, small unit leader. How can I like assist you in your mission? Because I want to be part of you. So they would start teaching me some things. And I eventually, during that deployment, I conducted the interview and it went through the selection process to lateral move. So then, after doing 2 tours in Iraq as the infantry Marine, 0311, get some, with 3.5, get some. Then I lateral moved to counterintelligence, human intelligence, which is like, at the time was a 5-month school. I think now it's like a 6-month school where you learn surveillance, counter surveillance, interrogation, human intelligence, network operations. So we're talking like basically an informant network, a low-level case officer. You really get immersed in this whole new world that you never thought the Marine Corps had. To where I was going to I ended up on beaches in Belize wearing like this shirt, taking pictures of a shoreline in the event the U.S. Navy had to land ships there for a humanitarian aid and disaster relief operation. Or going to an arms convention in Turkey. I went to IDEF, the International Defense Exposition Fair, and that was in Istanbul. I mean, it was like Lord of War. Like, if all these countries, Russia, China, bringing all their arms and tanks, I'm at a weapons convention. Like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Like, I love guns. I love, walking around like this, like looking like a regular dude. Like, I'm in my environment. So, for the next 17 years, I spent as a, counterintelligence agent, human intelligence operative, and it was a lot of fun up until like maybe the last 5 years when I was an officer. I was like, this sucks. Like, it was so much more fun to be enlisted.
So what rank, like, how did you work your way up the ranks?
So I was a corporal when I left the infantry, and then you're immediately promoted to sergeant when you become when you graduate from CI Human Basic School. You have to actually graduate, otherwise they revoke the rank. But then I did Afghanistan as a CI human marine. I had an interpreter. It was super awesome. I was with the infantry out in Helmand province in Garmsur district. And then I did the 31st BU, which is where I met my wife, working in Luzon, Philippines. And she was selling lumpia. Her job was from her auntie, who had this little lumpia stand to sell to the troops.
Which,
And every
okay, what is that?
So this was
No,
2000.
what is loop?
What is lumpia?
Yes, what is?
Lumpia is
I don't care when it was. I want to know what lumpia is.
lumpia is
Jafra?
a
Like
stick of heaven. It's a crispy rolled pork and onion, and there's carrots in there for some reason, but who gives a shit, right? It's like an egg roll, but way better. And I've had a lot of lumpia in my life.
Spec agrees.
I'm not saying.
Spec says
Yeah.
Lupia is bomb. And he means is the bomb. And, you know, he's a military brat. His dad was a military officer.
I'll put it this way: if my wife sold lumpia at Joe Fest, we'd make 3 times the money because it is a crispy egg roll stick of pork and this like wonderful roll from heaven. And so her job was to say, lumpia, sir, cold drink, sir, have Marlboro, sir. They'd sell cigarettes and all this other crap. And I thought, okay, this girl's pretty cute, you know, like let me make time with her. Now, being incredibly attractive as I am and a Marine, I expected immediate results. Our first dates were chaperoned by her uncles. Had like 5 Filipino dudes like sitting around me at a karaoke bar, like. so the most I got was a kiss on the cheek, and I realized like that's the kind of woman I want to marry. You know, is someone from this type of background, and I later took, because I lived at the time I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, so I could fly there frequently, very easy to do. And then I took another assignment in southern Philippines with MARSOC and the Navy SEALs, so I was able to every couple of weeks go to Manila to run ops, and I would let her know like, hey, we're gonna be up there, let's meet up. And she didn't even know this, that she was actually out with me working, and she had no idea, because when you're up in Manila as a dude that's like in the military, you got a brown girl on your arm, you look like you blend in. You know, you're out there having fun, but actually I was doing work, and that was pretty neat to share with her. Now today I'm like, hey, remember we were out with Greg at that restaurant and we were taking pictures? Like that's what we were actually doing.
Does it make her mad that?
No, she thinks it's cool.
Oh, really? She didn't wasn't offended by it. Wasn't like you used me.
No, it's because we were spending time together and enjoying ourselves, but you can also incorporate that into the job, which is much different than being infantry marine than being, human intelligence, casing a site or doing, surveillance or something like that. So, she really enjoyed her time out there. That was where our relationship really grew. So still staying in Okinawa, I got to continue to visit her, and then I proposed, and she became the luckiest woman in the world.
All right, so you become a sergeant, and now you said you moved up to being an officer eventually.
Yeah, so from sergeant, I progressed to staff sergeant. I was an instructor at the officer candidate school for a while. I was flagged to be a recruiter, and that was weird because our occupation was almost like completely segregated from having to do like external duties because we were so critical. They're like, hey, we need these people. We pay them a lot of money. Like I got a $90,000 bonus as a corporal to lateral move, and that's a lot of money. So there's a huge investment. So it's like, why would you take this person? Like, why would you take a Ferrari and be like, hey, we need you to go DoorDash? Well, because that's what the Marine Corps does. That's the institution. So, cry about it all you want, but that's how it is. So, I eventually got shoved into a recruiting position, but I had a warrant officer package already submitted. And 9 months later, the results of the board came out and they said, "Congratulations, a general has made a horrible mistake and said that John Kreutzer ought to become an officer." So that was that. So then I went to officer school in Quantico and waved goodbye to recruiting duty, and then became my illustrious 7-year career as a bottom third officer.
So okay, so you served for 20 years. So you were 13 years in the infantry.
13 years enlisted.
Enlisted. Okay.
3 years infantry.
Okay.
17 of the 20 were spent in counterintelligence, human intelligence.
So even as an officer, you're still doing the same job.
Well, it's more of managerial. So I was training younger counterintelligence agents. It sounds super boring, but it's like you got to, when you commit your act, your act of espionage or your operational act, you have to write reports. A lot of reports, and they're super boring and they're super specific. So I had to teach these kids, like, all right, dude, I know you came from the artillery and you came from whatever, but here's how you write the damn intel report. So a lot of it, and this is a funny tool I used, I would have my guys listen to old country western songs, like Marty Robbins. Remember Big Iron?
I have no idea. You said country. I
Well, so you could listen to, you listen to NoFX?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know the song "The Bruise"?
I sure do.
Oh, where the bruise? Supposed to go. So I would take a song that told a story. I would say, listen to the song. That's your source. Now you're going to write an intel report on what they did. They have to type it up based off a stupid song that I came up with. Usually the old country western songs that actually told the story of the timeline.
That's
and
how
a
most
location.
Punk songs are.
What's that?
That's how most punk songs are.
Yeah. So give them a story, and they would have to write this, this report, and that's what I did as an officer. But then it got super political. I had to fight for my guys. Like one of them got in trouble for a curfew violation, and I stood up for him in the greatest capacity I could. I was like, this is a minor event. This is super minor. It's stupid. He's a sergeant. He's been to war. Like, why are you holding him, to this level of, accountability? Like, this should be a slap on the wrist, not a crucifixion. And that really pivoted me from like believing in the institution to like, no, I believe in the people. Like, I'm here to guard the people, and I do that. And I got beat up pretty quick, which is fine because I'm well compensated for that. I don't, I'm well compensated. So
while you're serving, you obviously meet your wife, and you have 2 kids. Now, both, where were your kids born?
So both of my kids were born in Virginia because
Okay.
we were stationed in Quantico. It was very deliberate. And then we decided, like, after 2, of course, I wanted a son. I would have named him Thomas Magnum. Now, my proposed...
Then he'd have to wear a Detroit hat, just so you know.
I can't rep Detroit, but, I rep the chest hair. Not a lot of guys can
named
do
your
that.
kid Magnum, he has to wear a Detroit hat. He always wears Tiger's hat.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't in the cards. And actually, the 2 names I proposed for our daughters were Valkyrie and then Walker, Texas Ranger. My wife vetoed both of those. So now we've got Lily and Caitlin.
I feel like you and Dom would have some jokes together. Boy domination, because, yeah.
Yeah, my wife was not having that. She was like, "No, we're not naming your children Valkyrie and Walker, Texas Ranger."
Which one would have been named Walker, Texas Ranger?
The youngest, but the oldest, Lily, was like, "You almost named me Valkyrie? That means I could have been called Val. That would have been awesome." I was like, "Yes, it would have." And on your birthday, instead of singing the birthday song, we'd hear bum ba da ba 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 da ba ba, Valkyrie from Wagner.
I always said before I even met my ex, I'm like, I want to name my kid Chewbacca. And I'm like, this kid would either be picked on completely or be a tough motherfucker from having to fight people. And as cool as it would be naming your kid Chewie or nicknaming him Chewie, it really sucked for them.
Anytime I get in the freeway and I have to push the gas hard, I yell, "Punch it, Chewie!" And we accelerate. And my daughters know the reference. They're like, "Okay, like Dad's in his mode. Dad's doing his thing."
That's what dad jokes are for.
I used to write my daughters on little sticky notes jokes, and one was like something to the effect of Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker are in a restaurant eating sushi, and Luke Skywalker can't use the chopsticks, so Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "Use the forks, Luke." Just something like the worst dad joke ever.
There was a TV show on Disney Plus called Big Shot, and it was with Rebecca Romaine Stamos' ex-husband, John Stamos. And he's
dreamy man.
Yeah, he's basically playing John Calipari mixed with Bob Knight. And he gets fired from being a college basketball coach. He ends up coaching his daughter. And he ends up coaching his daughter, but he has this thing where take care, keep safe. So TCKS, right? And he's trying to tell his assistant coach, and she's like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Take care, keep safe." And she's like, "That's not a thing." He's like, "I'm gonna make it a thing." So my daughter and I started doing it all the time, and I still do it to her. It is so stupid, and there's no one else in this world that probably ever does it because the show was canceled like 3 years ago. But I still, if I send it to her, she'll send it right back. She knows what it is. It is a dad joke taken from a TV show about being a bad dad joke. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
My oldest recently committed an offense that would have resulted in grounding. However, I opted for weapons training. So she can disassemble and reassemble an AR-15 in under 4 minutes as a 13-year-old girl. And I tell her how proud I am of her. I was like, well, you know what? You can hate the Marine Corps all you want. I'm not going to have you read or write sentences or do anything stupid. Like you can hate taking apart the gun, but you're going to get really good at it. And she did. And she's like, "Dad, how fast was I?" I was like, "You're under 4 minutes. You're smoking."
When you can do anything that's a competition, and a lot of times when it's being timed, it makes it exciting. It might be the most mundane thing, but if you can turn it into some sort of competition, if you can beat your own time, you can get people to like something really stupid.
Yeah, and it also became something that we did together.
Yeah.
It was like, "Hey, we're going to do this dumb thing together. Like, I know you don't like it, but I got one too. We're going to take it apart. And then one day I did it blindfolded. I was like, "All right, I'm going to do it blindfolded. You do it unblindfolded." Of course, she beat me because it took me 8 minutes blindfolded. It took her sub 4 minutes, and I was like, "That's amazing, Lily. You possess a skill that most men do not." And that was, I try to impress upon them. That's why we do Taekwondo. That's why we do these other things. It's like, yeah, you may be a girl, but you're going to learn these life skills. You're going to learn to defend yourself. You're going to learn to, you know, just have the confidence to explore new things or be you because you possess something different that other people don't. I think that's
No,
important for young women.
that's very important. It is, and especially as you get, especially as they go into high school. Um, and I know you said like
Yeah.
transition has been a little difficult for your oldest. Um, my daughter's always been in, and she's like, there's certain girls that she is stuck with right now because she's in all these advanced classes, and she just doesn't like them. But she's like, I'm stuck with them. Now my thing is, hey, why don't you talk to them about the issue? But she doesn't want to because she knows she can't I'm like, I understand, but I can't give you any other type of advice. You have to deal with these people. Maybe you should just talk to them. Because how many times have we avoided talking to someone and then you find out, hell, if we would have just talked to them, it would have made everything a lot easier.
We'd probably be friends.
Yeah. Or you realize I don't fucking like you. So let's just tolerate each other till the end of school. There's that too.
Yeah. So what I did is I wrote a check. I told Lily, I said, look, if you don't want to be in public school, we can do two things. We can go to the private school that we're affiliated with, or I can homeschool you. You say the word, it's done. Letting her know, like, I'll do anything for you. The very next day, she cashes that check. She's like, Dad, I want to be homeschooled. I'm like, well, shit.
Wait,
I guess
what was the check for?
the check was
Oh, okay.
Lily. If you don't feel safe in public school, you feel like it's not good. And I agree that
Okay.
with some of your complaints, I will homeschool you, or we can go to the school affiliated with our
I thought you were saying
faith.
you wrote a check for something. And then she
So I
cashed
wrote
it.
a check to her, and she decided to cash that less than 24 hours later. So I'm like, well, shit, I got to make good on this. So, again, like all the people who purchased from me in February, like experienced a significant delay, because I'm, trying to navigate homeschooling for my daughter. And I was like, as I impart upon them, like, you are my priority. Like, you go first before everything else.
Mhm.
And again, I wrote that check, and the next day my daughter wanted to cash it. And I was like, well, we better make good on that for the dad bank. Otherwise, I'll be bankrupt as a father in terms of like, her faith in me. So here we are, like, yep, we're homeschooling, and that's okay. That's great. She's taken to it very well, but that's just, one of the many struggles of, being a dad and running a business. And, it's just, you got to balance a lot of things. That's life, dude.
Yeah, no matter what, whether you're homeschooling or not. I mean, I know I've had a lot of people that will say, well, oh, well, you don't have anything going on. That's why you can do as much YouTube as you want. I'm like, really, I work a full-time job. I have two kids that obviously my son's 19 now, my daughter's 17. So it's not like taking care of them when they were a little bit younger. But when the channel started, I'm like, yeah, I do a lot for the channel. That's a choice that I make. Don't complain that you want to grow your channel or you want something in YouTube, but you're not willing to work for it. You have to make sacrifices. I'm willing to make the sacrifice because we all have a lot of things going on. And it's not like this pays the bills. I mean, I think a lot of people think like, oh, you have YouTube money. And it's like, you mean that $300 I made last month? That's I don't know what you think that's gonna fucking pay, but and right now some of the guys just went, oh man, you made $300 in a month. Yes,
Yeah.
I do a lot of content.
And I know for someone who has a well atrophied YouTube channel, like, making content's not easy. Like, that takes a lot of time. That is an investment.
It does.
And and for guys like us, yeah, I do make a good amount of money in my business, but it's also something I really enjoy. I love designing weapons. I love making new weapons. In fact, old Krusty Crow asked a while ago if I was going to make sci-fi weapons. And this was a long time ago. And I told him, like, nope, not going to do it. But what I've done is I make weapons mixed with other existing weapons that probably shouldn't or don't exist. So that's my version of sci-fi. I was like, what if somebody? And I'll show you an example. Let's see if I have it here.
So technically, Crow, I made 426 last month on the YouTubes, like the 426 Hemi.
So for Crow, because I know you're active right now, here's my version of sci-fi. Right, we have a XM8 with an M320 grenade launcher. So while both of these weapons actively exist, the fact they're paired together, it may not be a real thing. And where's another one? Here's another good one.
But you do Star Wars weapons because I have some of them.
I do. I do Star Wars weapons. Here's a G3 Mod 3 with an M203 and M203 handguard. Like that, someone who's a skilled gunsmith could make that happen, but it was never employed in any fashion. But wouldn't it be cool if it existed? But yes, I do Star Wars weapons, and I like my love for Star Wars is great. I haven't been as active in the Star Wars communities online as I have with the G.I. Joe ones.
Now, you said that was a specific weapon with an M203, correct?
Yeah.
I got yelled at because I called it an M16 with a 203, and someone yelled at me and said, it's not called an M16 with 203. It's just called the 203. And I was like, you know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? Like you know what I'm talking about. And I tell people all the time, I'm not a gun aficionado. Like the fact that you go in my comments and you want to say shit like that, you're like, oh man. I wish that was the worst thing. I wish that was the biggest thing that I had to worry about in my life.
The irony of it is that the M203 is simply the grenade launcher.
Yes.
It's not the weapon it's harnessed to. So this is an M16A1.
Yep.
With an M203. This is a G3 Mod 3 with an M203. And then where do we get to I have an MP5 with an M203 on it. So it's not the M203 is specific to the grenade launcher.
Yeah.
Not the weapon that actually harnesses it.
And that's what I had always thought. And I don't even know what video it was. It was more than likely something of yours that I was reviewing. And it made me laugh. And I remember it made me laugh because you labeled all the bags with guns. And you're like, you labeled them all for me because you're like, you're not a military guy. You're not a gun guy. You want.
I just do that, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I remember you saying I don't label all because there's so many different types. And I remember this military guy who's making them literally wrote M16 203. So, I'm gonna say that that's what it's called. And what does it matter? You know what the fuck I'm talking about. And again, in the comments, it's text, right? So sometimes things come over and maybe they don't come over right, but you can usually read the comments and you can tell when someone is trying to be helpful and be like, hey, just by the way, that's really just called this, and then you can tell when someone's being a dick and you're like, all right, we can do that. We can play that game.
Yeah, because you could easily say, hey, brother, in my experience, I've known that to be an M16A1X, whatever, blah, 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 with an M203. You can be nice. And I told you this before many times in our interactions that, I understand that not everybody spent time in the military or 20 years in the military. So it's yeah, you might not understand the doctrinal difference between a clip and a magazine, but I know what you're talking about. And you know what I like? I like people to buy the products. I like people to be nice to me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be nice to them. And it's really easy. It's not hard to do. Just be a good dude. It's super easy.
I fixed copy machines for 25 years. When someone says, can I make a Xerox? I'm like, Xerox is a brand.
It's can I make a Kleenex? I'm like, no, that's a brand.
You're absolutely right. It's but everyone calls it Kleenex. Now, people have gotten away from saying, "Oh, the Xerox machine," because that brand has really died. Although we took it on, and I'm actually going for training in April to New York. But it's the same thing. Something has become that's what it's known as. So people call it Xerox. People call it clips. Actually, at 90210, he called it a clip, and nowadays I cringe when I hear the word clip, because when I watched the video and they broke down what the difference is between a clip and a magazine, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense. I try not to get mad about too many things. Although people are going to be like, really? Because I know I lost my cool the other day. I said I'm trying to get mad about too many things. All right. So while you're still serving in the Marines, you decide to get into this 3D printing.
Yeah. So what would be awesome is if we could take a short break.
Yes.
That would be very cool. Like 3 minutes or however long it takes you to do the thing. I'll be right back and we can dive into that because I've got something to show you.
All right.
From that 3D printing. All right.
So let me find something quickly. Here we go.
Very cool.
And now back to Cobra News Now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have received word that our field correspondent, Scrap Iron, is on scene at Mars Industries, and he has interviewed a few eyewitnesses and forwarded those statements over to us as he tries to get closer for a better vantage point on the fire. So let's take a listen to these eyewitness statements and see if we can discover what has happened here tonight.
All right, so I'm out here just ripping this mini ramp that's made by Mars Industries. Don't ask, I don't understand why they sponsored it. But anyway, I hear this huge explosion, and I hear all these people yelling and screaming that this thing's on fire, and they tell me to call 911, so I call 911. We got the ESU police here, and we got the firefighters, and wait a minute, don't you work for Mars Industry and the Iron Grenadiers too?
Oh yeah, that's a wicked fire, eh? Good bonfire for burning the moose on. Kind of reminds me, it reminds me of the one that we did at Justin Bieber every year at Stratford Festival. Just as much smoke, big flame. We do that to keep Sasquatch away. What'd you do yours for, eh?
Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, how you doing? I was walking down the street, hanging out, minding my own business. About to sit down on the park bench here and just enjoy my meal here. I got a nice little delicious lunch made by my wife, my lovely wife. She's a great cook. Sometimes not the best, but listen. We all suffice, right? And I'm sitting here on the bench about to open up my lunch box after a long day of working with construction workers. If you haven't noticed, I got this hard hat on, right? And I'm sitting here chilling. And next thing you know, I smell burning. And I go, what is that? And then the explosion, the loud, boom! I'm like, oh, what the hell was that? What's going on here? It sounds like Aaron Judge cracked a home run. I'm freaking out. I look up, and Mars Industries is on fire. And I'm like, yo, what the hell is this? The building just blew up. It's on fire now. And no one can have any answers. Nobody has any answers. Next thing you know, the fire shows up, the cops show up, nobody knows what's going on, but damn things for sure, that building blew up. Now listen, I ain't no conspiracy theorist, but I'll tell you this. The owner of that building, he wears a metal helmet. Who's wearing a metal helmet? Just to do business. Something don't smell right, you understand what I'm saying? That building, that was an inside job. You can quote me on that. Thank you for having me on the news. I've never been on the news before. This is fantastic. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And before we go, I want to shout out some people. My man Shane, my man Woody, my man Mike. I appreciate you all. Take it easy, guys. I appreciate you. I'm on the freaking news right now. This is fantastic.
Well, that was certainly something. So let's see if we can check back in with Scrap Iron and see if he's been able to locate Destro or the Baroness and find out the cause of this fire. Over to you, Scrap Iron. Scrap Iron. Scrap, are you there? Looks like we might be having some technical difficulties, and oh my God. Oh, I'm going to have to go over there now.
All right.
And we're back. I love that, dude. 3-star draw. Like, that guy is so awesome and so funny. I got to catch the end of that thing, and that was great. I just wanted to give that a shout out to you, man.
He's done some pretty good commercials. He did 3 of them for the Punkathon, and some of them are really like that one here. He had me. He wouldn't tell me what he was doing. He's like, "I just need you to do the voice for Leatherman." Or I think he didn't even say that. He said, I need you to do the voice." I didn't know who else was going to do it. I did it, and then we see Krusty Old Crow as Snow Job, but it was Tony Legend series who did the Punisher, and I bought that Punisher Nick Fury 2-pack so I could swap the head with the other Punisher. But now all I hear is Tony's voice, and I see that face, and I'm like, I can't change the head now because that's how I see that Punisher. So
that was hilarious, man. So you'd ask about the 3D printing, how I got into it.
Yeah.
I started doing Boba Fett helmets.
Okay.
And I did weathering on these things. This isn't even complete, but I started 3D printing these because I got an FDM printer that had a large capacity to start making Boba Fett armor. Because again, Halloween for me as a dad was like a big event. This is we all get costumed up. We think about this back in August, like what are we doing for Halloween? So when my oldest wanted to do Cara Dune, I was like, I got you.
I'm sorry, Clint. I don't know how you know the 3 stars on Grindr, but you should have left that private.
Oh, he certainly have.
Oh, 3 star is a. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought is that 3 stars on Grindr. Sorry.
Oh, I might have messaged him earlier. My
bad. All right. So you're doing this, like you got into it so you did it just for yourself.
No, I was doing it for Halloween.
But it was just for you. You weren't planning.
Yeah, for me and my family. Like,
Okay.
hey, we're gonna make some super killer Halloween costumes. And if
now,
you're
is
in the
your
Marine,
wife into this too, or is it just you and your kids?
no. Well, she would play along. So there were years where we did Star Wars, and then she would have like this spandex Darth Vader costume. But I would make, for me and the kids, like legit, armor. And then one year we were going to go back because at first it was always Ghostbusters, then it came Star Wars. Then one year Lily was like, "Dad, can we do proton packs?" And I was like, "Yes, we can." This was in August. So from August up until like probably October 28th, I was printing full size. You have to print them in parts, and you have to order like basically an aluminum motherboard to put these things on to make these packs. It was a huge endeavor to make these packs, and I made one for myself, one for Lily at 50%. And I mean, we rocked it. Like we would go to these. The battalion would always have, or even the regiment would have trunk or treat events based off of like, and there would be a reward, like a $50 Amazon certificate for your best car. We would barely even decorate the car. It was all about our costumes, and we would win like every one of them. And they really got excited about this. And then I mentioned previously how my oldest got into the Super 7 3/4 inch or 3.175 or 3.75 figures, and the guns were crap. And I had never messed with resin. This was all FDM, and there's 2 distinct ways to 3D print. There's FDM, which spits out like a dental floss, fishing string, and then resin, which is this whole different beast. So I started thinking, like, these guns are crap, and I want my children to be able to identify weapons and eventually go into weapons training, which is like when Lily got grounded, it's like, oh no, we're doing weapons training. This is how we're going to incorporate that. No, you're in trouble. So now you're going to take apart these guns and learn how to use them. Because I have leverage and you can't argue. It's like, yeah, you can still hang out with your friends, but you got to do the stuff on the side. So
I think that is funny though. That's how you decide to
discipline the kids. Yeah. Her mornings began by reciting the Rifleman's Creed with an M16 rubber rifle, but she tied a
What does
bow on the
your wife?
front.
What does your wife say? Does she just like shake her head?
No, she says like, "Oh, it's good. They learn discipline. It's nice." I mean, she grew up in a place where you get hit with a broom for acting out. So, you know, I'm teaching my children valuable life skills, not hitting with a broom.
That can be a valuable life skill too, though.
Yeah, especially with a Filipina. They have a very, very particular broom they like to hit with. So then I got in. I was like, well, maybe I could make some cool weapons because, I'm at this point like 40 years old. I'm like, well, I still like action figures. We play with action figures. We build these little drive-in restaurants with Lincoln logs, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And like, well, what if I could make some cool little guns? That'd be kind of fun for me to do. So I started downloading files online, and I got a resin printer, and I realized these files are inadequate, or they're built to like real specification, whereas the M203 handguard would be 2 millimeters in real life, but when scaled down to 1/12 would be like half the thickness of a sheet of paper, totally fall apart.
Yeah.
So I quickly learned like, okay, like these aren't adequate. At the same time, the Marine Corps offered a crash course in 3D printing and robotics. It was called the Innovation Lab. It was mostly intel and explosive ordnance disposal people who went to it to learn how to like better understand how bombs could be made in this new age with sensors and programming and 3D printed parts, or how to counteract these things. So I learned the very basic functions of Fusion 360. So Fusion 360 is an engineering program. It's a CAD program. And I'm being mostly self-taught. I miss a lot of things. There's a lot of things I don't understand. I do things much less efficiently than someone who is professionally trained. So I get that. But what it did was that year we made proton packs. So I figured out how to make a rectangle and digitally drill out little holes to make a light bar to it would scroll, the lights on the
Okay.
proton pack. So I was like, okay, I can make something very basic and apply it to my little costume and do measurements and all that stuff. So then I started thinking, well, what if I could make a weapon, like a small little 1/12 scale weapon? And the first weapon I designed was the Spirit Aura rifle.
Which I have on my Spirit.
So I imported a picture of the original Spirit Aura rifle, because you can, in Fusion 360, you can lay down a JPEG and trace over it. So that's what I did. I traced over it, but then you have to like mold the thing in 3D and make it 3D, and it doesn't do it on its own. You have to do it. You have to figure it out. So by tweaking all of and learning through YouTube videos and trial and error, the first weapon I designed was a Spirit Aura rifle. It didn't accept blast effects. It was super basic. But at that point, I was like, okay, I can design and print something that people will want, potentially. And I was
want that stuff.
And I was on a bunch of Facebook groups and showing it off. And then the first time I went to Joe Fest, that was in 2023 maybe.
23.
Yeah,
I started
20
going in 24, so 2 years ago I went.
Yeah, so we just went as attendees because Lily was super into action figures, and that's when actually I saw Mark II's when he was making these little like 4-packs, and one was like an FAL, one was an AK, and some other things. I had been experimenting, and what I did, and this is interesting. So here is a 1/12 scale. I didn't print this. This is all wood. It's a Soviet spam can, and I thought I bought a 3D scanner. So I would buy 1/6. I'm sorry, this is 1/6. I would buy 1/6 scale weapons, scan them, scale them down. It wasn't scanning is kind of a messy process, so I would have to rebuild certain parts, but then I could print my own. And these were solid. It wasn't, the half of a sheet of paper. It was a solid piece if I built it properly. So then I was like, let's take it to the next level. Let's actually incorporate the doctrinal markings that a Soviet spam can would have based upon my history of seeing these things, and open it up and look what we have inside. So then I started taking it further and further, and it really just spiraled into this thing that I have now of make an ammo can but have the proper doctrinal markings for the Dodic. Like, that's exactly what it would say in real life. In fact, I used the same lot numbers from ammo cans I had laying around to put
So
on
I
these
may or
things.
may not have taken pictures today with that spam can, that box that you have there.
Yeah.
And I think you do a wonderful job, because I don't see many people. I don't know of anyone that's doing it. I'm not saying no one is, but I don't know of anyone that's doing it. And I know, like, you were very adamant about like getting certain things and how you wanted it, and then you have to, you're painting the inside of it. And I think you've done an awesome job of giving little things that a lot of people aren't, like the spam cam, right? Like, who else is doing that?
But here's the other thing. Even with the Kalashnikov, this is the crate. This is one of our best sellers. You have one.
I do.
This is the Izmash Armory symbol. It's basically the Colt of the Soviet Union. Kalashnikov spelt in Cyrillic, right? I referenced as many photos as I could. 10 WT would actually be a count of 10, but we can't do a count of 10 because we don't have the room in here. But inside, you'll find that there are AKs lined up. They have these nice little hemp handles to hold on to. They stack upon each other, so you can stack several. And it was so cool to bring some of this to life.
I didn't even realize that. I did not realize you meant that it was made so you could stack them like that.
Yeah, same thing with the spam can. That if I didn't misplace the lid, I could show you, like, yeah, they stack neatly upon each other, and that is part of the design. Like, that's how these were originally designed, is so they could stack without tipping over. Because I've owned these, back when I would buy a lot of 7.62, and then we've got the American version, which is this is sort of imagined, the property of U.S. government. M16A1, and inside there's your M16 rifles ready to go. So yeah, some of it's a little bit imagined, but I incorporate as much realism as I can into the design. But I also, and that's a part of old Krusty Crow kind of inspired me. It was like, hey, let your imagination go a little bit, and maybe don't be. I don't use this term in a pejorative sense. And I might be on the spectrum, I don't know, but don't be as autistic. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, every brick must be gray. Now I'm like, okay, maybe I can expand my mind a little bit more.
I know. Like, when I first talked to you, you said, like, I want it to be a 1-to-1 scale, and then I had reached out to you later on, and I'm like, hey, I know you want these to be 1-to-1 scale. The problem is these stocks are too long because these are plastic figures, and you're like, yep, it's already been brought up, and I'm actually adjusting it. And again, I think you can shorten the stocks and make adjustments, just like you were talking about the handles, right? The handles or the grips wouldn't fit properly in an action figure's hand. And a lot of people don't realize that, because I've seen people complain also, whether it be from a classified gun or whatever, and say, well, this doesn't fit and this is the wrong size. And it's like, they're action figures. All right. Put a plate carrier on an action figure, and you really cause a lot of issues of getting that figure to actually put that stock up against his shoulder and actually look through it and fire, because there's no give or take. It's a big hard piece of plastic.
And in some of my most recent recreations, I've absolutely embraced what you've told me, and I'll offer not a truncated stock, but in some versions a fully collapsed stock. So
Yeah.
like the version of like a G3 A3 with a collapsible stock, it will have it collapse so they can still, whoever could shoulder a female figure could shoulder it, and it will still have that same resemblance. But yeah, I still keep I can't make it that short because it's gonna look weird.
But the other thing, again, you don't have to make things too short either. Most of these figures, and again, a lot of people may not realize, because you see how a lot of people pose their action figures. They just stick them up there with their, with the guns. They don't actually do it. If you bend the elbow at a different spot, you can get more movement, because it's a double bend. So
Absolutely. Hold on, I'm gonna show you what. I'm gonna have to peel this off real quick so I can stretch. But here's my main man, Footloose, one of my favorite figures as a kid, with an M249, and he's shouldering it, and he's sighting in as he should be, with a foregrip.
Okay.
I mean, that's how a soldier should shoulder a weapon. It does take some manipulation. It's not maybe as intuitive, because again, your average person may not understand pulling in. And
I talked about posing figures. I used to, and then I had somebody, again, rude comment. People want to make rude comments, and they said, "You talking about posing? Who really sticks their elbow out like that when they're firing a rifle?" And I said,
a plastic figure.
Yeah, action figures do. And he came back and he said, "Okay, touche." You can only do so much, especially if their wrists don't move up and down like this. So you're at their mercy.
Yeah, you're limited with your articulation of the figure, and it's like, dude, at the end of the day, I tell this to a lot of people, like whether it's drama on Facebook and the action figure community or whatever. It's like, dude, we are grown ass men with responsibilities. You know what we're doing? Playing with action figures.
Exactly.
And that's why I love Matt, Uncle Clutch, so much. Is like, this dude flew out, we ordered pizza, watched action movies, play with toys like we were kids again. And that was such an awesome experience, because it's the connection, and like we're just these goofy ass dudes on the back end of our lives, enjoying reliving part of our childhood together. And I think that's really special.
And that's what makes Joe Fest. And again, there's other conventions that are great too. If you're if you're into the fantasy, I think Mythic or Legion's Con would be perfect for you, right? Like, that is all fantasy stuff. I don't know if San Diego Comic Con, there's one place I want to go, but I don't think that's a place where you go to like meet up with people that you haven't seen in a year. Where Joe Fest, it's a large convention, but it's intimate enough that you're going to run into everyone that multiple times if you're there, the 3 to 4 days, whatever you want to stay. And again, there's other shows like that. I went to Assembler Required, and those guys go every year. Much smaller show, but a wonderful show, and you get to hang out and see all these people. It's the same thing what you're saying about Clutch. Like, he flew out there, you hung out. Whoever thinks that you're gonna meet some guy online and actually become friends with them, like in real life. And that's what these shows do. And I know we talk about Joe Fest the most. But there's other ones that are, I'm assuming, are just the exact same.
Well, Yeah, I mean, for instance, like my YouTube channel had more life in it during my first year at Joe Fest. I ran old Krusty Crow. He was like, John. I was like, oh, dude, you did that shout out for me. Like, hey, big props, brother. Like, and that the relationship grew. Oh, what would I say?
Matthew said, I do the shouldering with the female figures. I remember this too with Matthew. He said, people told me Joe's couldn't do it. I showed them Lady J could in silence. You know, again, and Matthew will know this. The Baroness and the original Scarlet, they couldn't do it because they had the single jointed elbows.
Yeah.
But once they moved to that that Lady J buck, you could do all kinds of stuff, except with big weapons.
Yeah, so I do, like, even, so I have submachine guns. When I make my submachine guns, I specifically make their stock shorter.
Yep.
So they can be held a little bit closer, as it should be. But it just, there's something in me that, I'll show you this. This is stupid. And this is where, old Krusty Crow and his, like, sci-fi come in, is that, I made this big ass stupid G3 with bipods and a bayonet and a 30-round mag. Like, totally ridiculous, but it looks so menacing. Does that not look like what the Cobra trooper should be charging your position with?
Now, see, it's too big. Now, that's one of those ones where it needs to be put on a bigger figure.
Yeah, but I love it. I love making so many different guns for just one platform. That, like, we take the G3, but I want to make. I think I probably have like 14 to 16 different versions of the G3.
And I don't think anyone else is doing that because they know it takes more time, and you want to have different ones. But like when it comes to the females, and I'm one of those people where I'm like, an M16 doesn't change size for a female. But as a smaller guy, I'm 5'4" on a good day. If I picked up a rifle, that rifle may be too big for me, just in general. So I have to pick a smaller rifle. So with my female figures, none of them have like a big, long gun because it just doesn't fit them properly. I fit them with a smaller gun. I don't want to see somebody rescale the M16 so it can fit the female figure. That's ridiculous. Because that's not how the real world is. You find something that can fit you. I remember years ago, one of the jobs I had, I couldn't pick up the box. And my boss was like, he's like, you're like the strongest guy here and you can't pick up the box. And I'm like, I can't get my fucking arms around it. What do you want me to do? Like, I can physically pick it up. I can't put my arms around it. Nothing is going to fix that. I don't care how much weight I can lift. My arms don't go around the box. Shooter. Yeah. Well, Shooter has like the shittiest gun and that thing just flexes around. But yeah, no, I kind of forget what we were talking about there.
Oh, we got into, the resin printing and then the design and then the self-taught, and now I started painting. So a lot of the stuff you're starting to see, so I had a relationship. I still love the guy, where he would do the painting for me. Now I'm in Texas. We did have an issue with the December custom orders. I ended up having to do them all myself. It's fine. It didn't hurt our relationship. I still love that man. He's a Marine, brother of mine. But
if he lives in a completely different state, that's not.
Yeah, completely different time zone, and he has his own issues because he's still, he's now pinning on major. He doesn't have time to paint. Like, it's a little bit different. So now, the direction of our custom orders is going to be completely different. I think it's going to go in a much more efficient and streamlined way, and I want to show some of that off if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, no. But quickly, Krusty, he says, Question for you: where are you looking to challenge your production next? Do you have plans for any new materials to use, like slings or scrim? A sling is what we consider what I used to call a strap. I don't know what a scrim is, so please fill people in on that.
Yeah, what's a scrim, brother?
Oh, it
I know what a sling is.
must be a Canadian thing.
Yeah, Yanks up north.
Maybe maybe a scrim is the one naval boat they have in Canada to protect them. Luckily, they have Alaska on the other side, so they don't have to worry about protecting that side of the country.
Yeah, the penguins to the north. Well, while Ryan figures it out.
Scrim is camo.
Oh, yes, we do have different camo. And now that I will be doing all the painting, we actually have some new stuff that's going to be released later this month as far as customs. The way we're going to do customs, I'm going to offer like 1 or 2 different patterns per month. They will all be done in house, only 1 or 2, so they can be done efficiently and, shipped out to our customers in a timely manner. Vice like offering 14 different types of camo, and then they have to be individually hand painted. It'll be much more streamlined and efficient. But here's what I want to offer. That hardballer.
Try not to get demonetized here.
Long slide. And
Okay.
the light's not that great, but that thing is kind of chromed out. So we've got 1911s coming, and we have so by the way, this is a custom figure from Uncle Clutch.
I was gonna ask what that is.
Yeah, that is a custom tactical Destro for my main man, Matt Harris, at Uncle Clutch.
Wait, why does Destro need a tactic? He has a metal mask. He doesn't need a helmet.
I mean, I think it looks pretty badass. Though. Look how menacing that dude is. Now he's got a 1911. That's not a scope. The reason it's raised so high up is so you can still see through the sights. That's one of like the original laser sights. That's how dumb it was in the 80s. It's not even a scope.
How dumb it was.
Yeah, it was retarded. And then another one of my this was a collab between me and him. So this is my Musoc 1911 suppressed.
Okay.
Right? And then if you notice, this is a JTAC type body. Look at that hotness on the grenade. That's hand painted. That's what we do. So I did the grenade. I did the M17 smoke grenade and the 1911 pistol. But Uncle Clutch did the whole body, and we love that one. We love showing that one off. But yeah, so the 1911s are about to be released. A lot of people have been asking for larger pistols, larger than the Glocks. And honestly, like from a weapons perspective, the Glock is a pretty small gun. I carry one all the time, and they're not huge, but 1911 is a little bit bigger. So people wanted like a larger frame, something more profound, and they will be released this weekend. So we're super excited. When I say we, I mean like Top Fun Retro Toys 3D is a one-man operation. It's a dad who stays at home with his daughters doing homeschooling, and
Again, when you say we, when I say we for the channel, it's everyone that's helped create the channel. Yeah, I'm a one person, but I said it before, like Modern Skate, right? That's the skate park that I used to skate at all the time. George owns it, but I say it's our park.
Yeah.
Like, even though he owns it, it's our job to keep it clean, to make sure, hey, if the ramp is broken, if there's wood, we tell George or whoever, and if he needs help, then we help him. And just like with you saying we, it's like, again, Top Fun it's not a company without people buying the product. And I fully believe when you say we, people, people take pride in that. Like, hey, I helped grow this. I want to be part of it. But I do understand the one man, and I think as you start to see the paint get better, that's when you know Lily's been in more trouble. Do you want to be grounded, or do you want to learn how to paint?
So my youngest, she can do nails like nobody's business. I'm like, I need you to learn how to paint G3s.
I'm holding back the jokes right now. I'm holding back the jokes.
Now, what if I told you that my wife has recently? Oh man, this is gonna be bad.
Stop. Just stop.
No,
I cannot.
She's a massage therapist now. Ah! There's no happy ending. All right.
All right. Anyway,
but
there are things you can say in private with people, and there are things you cannot say when you're live on the stream, and anyone can watch it.
But I think what I appreciate about you, Lawrence, is like we're the same level. Like we get the humor, and we're like, it's all in good natured. It's okay.
I found that out when we took that picture, and that's when I was like, I've told people, like one of my best friends that I grew up skating with, he still skates. He's older than I am. He's mixed, half black, half white. And I'm like, if you sat up there on the deck of the ramp and listened to us go back and forth, and you didn't know us, you might be like, wow, you guys are pieces of shit. Like as we go back and forth at each other, it's like, but when you realize it's all in good fun, it's like listening to a comedian. When people go to
comedy show, Dave Chappelle,
when they go to a comedy show and they get offended by what the comedian is saying, like, I don't think I will ever find 9/11 jokes funny because I lived it. I watched it happen. But I'm also not going to go to a comedy show and someone tell a 9/11 joke and get mad about it. That's how people cope with things, and jokes are funny. And if you look at if you were a friend of mine on Facebook and you went to the RIP section, people that have died, and you start going, this person's not dead. Wait, you kind of get the idea. Every time a James Bond died, I'd put a different James Bond up saying RIP. When Sean Connery finally died, I said, hey, look, I got it right. I was just a few years too early. But yeah, so we have a very similar sense of humor.
Yeah, I think that's where we need to be in this community. And by this community, I'm talking about like the Joe Fest, the collectors. Like, let's give each other a little more grace. Let's not be snooty. I'm not going to smack somebody down and tell they're a retard because a clip in a magazine. It's like, dude, maybe you didn't spend 20 years in the military. Maybe you're just a guy who wants to like relive his childhood, that have those same experiences of seeing that. I'm going to say it wrong, and you're going to beat me up for it. That's okay. Tiberian.
The Tidarian.
With all the figures lined up. It's like, that's what you want to relive. That's what you're doing. I get it. You're harnessing those awesome memories that you had as a kid. I mean, you're trying to relive them because those are so awesome, and you're trying to share them with your kids, maybe because that's an awesome thing to do. So like, let's just maybe give each other some grace. I think it's cool. Like, just be cool to each other, dude.
I said to my daughter, I think it was yesterday, I said, I will never be able to get on the floor and play G.I. Joe like I did as a kid. It's just not the same. Taking pictures, as much as I love them, and setting stuff up, it's not the same as playing with them as a kid. But there is something special about being an adult and having adult money and being able to buy reasonably anything that I want.
I tell you what, though, me and Uncle Clutch fly out to your town. We're gonna have a good time.
I didn't say. Oh, I didn't. But I don't play.
But I'm just
Like,
saying, like, you know, like,
oh,
yeah, we wouldn't play like, oh, bang, 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 but just like the creativity and like the story that comes out of this, and it's almost
yeah.
it's childish. It's like, oh, what was his story? Oh, he's a Cobra fighter from the desert now, man. It's like, what weapon would he have? I was like, I got all the weapons in the world, dude. What do you want, my friend? Let's order some pizza. That's the spirit. That's the zeitgeist.
If you walked up to me and you gave me a bucket of 200 GI Joes of my era, let's say 82 through maybe 88, and just gave me a bucket of weapons and said, hey, can you bag these together? There is something extremely relaxing and enjoyable about separating them and completing one and putting them together. Not everyone's going to feel that way, but there is something very satisfying that I could just sit there for 2 hours if I have nothing else going on, just separating them. I find it enjoyable because you can put something on in the background and you just go through this stuff, and that's kind of like playing with stuff.
It is, man, and yeah, I'll show you this, and it's nothing crazy, it's nothing out of the sorts, but I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Derek O'Shields. He bought this AK for me, and he painted it and sent it back to me because he wanted to show what he was doing, and he had some traumatic experiences with his job. I won't get into what it is.
Okay.
But he was talking to a therapist and said, I don't think you need more therapy. I think you need more painting those guns and talking to those guys because that's a good connection for you. You don't need therapy. You just need to focus on doing something and being creative. And I think that
you need an outlet.
Yeah.
At our age,
exactly.
You need an outlet. I know there are people that are my age that will be like, oh, you still skateboard? Isn't that dangerous? Well, it is, but at the same time, what you might see on Instagram or on ESPN, I'm not doing that. I'm not skating mega ramps and giant handrails. But also, to me, riding a skateboard, it's second nature. No different than someone who plays beer league hockey. They know how to skate.
Yeah.
Skating, getting on those ice skates, it's second nature for them. It's an outlet. And I tell all my skate buddies, because I don't really skate nearly as much because they're younger. I'm like, I've never sprained an ankle reviewing an action figure. I've never got swelbo by getting out some new weapons, and it doesn't happen. It's a lot easier on the body, but we all need an outlet for something. And like my ex, she had no hobbies whatsoever. She still doesn't. She grew up poor and she didn't have anything. And she never understood why I collected, why I love skateboarding like I did. It's like, I can't explain to you, but there is this outlet. And my daughter has the exact same thing. Like, she collects Stitch figures, Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, my daughter loves Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
My youngest, yeah.
Yeah, we find the Funko Pops. And she likes Funko Pops, but she really likes the Lilo and Stitch. Pretty much anything Lilo and Stitch she'll want. Blind bags. And she's trying to figure out which one it is. And she's always, she's figured out, like, Dad, you buy so much shit. It's not that hard to get you to talk you into buying me something that's $5 or $10 that's a Lilo and Stitch. But it's an outlet. And hopefully as she gets older, like, she has no shame at 17. I'm like, that's awesome. Remember that, because you should be proud of things you like and collect.
Yeah, just be a kid. Be a person, like, don't cut that off for the rest of your life.
But like you said, that outlet of just of painting, painting that weapon. If that's his way of, like, hey, I need to decompress, and I have these 20 guns in front of me and I'm gonna paint them and I'm gonna paint them. Maybe you're gonna paint them all the exact same, or maybe you want everyone to be a little bit different, you know? That's
No,
where it's not everyone finds an outlet, and you see what happens when you don't.
yeah, and the coolest thing about him, about Derek, is like seeing his progression, like how good he's gotten. I'm like, dude, I could hire you on, bro. Like, but I can't afford to. You know, like my customers send me pictures of the stuff they paint, and I respond. I'm like, hey, bro, that's badass. Like, if you text me directly, I'm like, hey, man, that's all fucking awesome. You know, I love to see it. I think it's awesome, and that's what, like, if I didn't enjoy doing this, I wouldn't do it. Like, if I didn't love doing what I'm doing, I wouldn't do it.
And,
But I love the community.
and that's what I say about this. I'm like, no one cares about how much time I spend putting my Monday night show together. No one cares how much time I have to clean off my desk or my review table. I had to do it again tonight to do a review, and I don't do a lot of edits, but it's still no one cares. Just like no one cares, you know, how much time it took Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds to do, you know, Deadpool and Wolverine. They just want to be entertained. Like no one cares about that, and it really it's no one's business, and it is work, but I enjoy it. Like I enjoy Monday nights. There are days I do not want to do Monday night, and then it goes live, and there's 30 people in right away, and then there's 50 people, there's 100 people, and they're interacting with each other, and that chat is like, you realize this is Monday night is like they come here to hang out together because they can't all be at a bar.
Yeah.
Like this show here, I've talked about it. Like this is the thing I'm most proud of everything that I've done on YouTube. And I've had so many people mention and say some really kind things to me, which it's really nice when someone says something and you're like, that's what I wanted. And I'm so glad that it's translating, like it's coming through. But yeah, like this is an outlet for me. I get to share my toys. I get to talk with other people that have the same likes, and it's enjoyable. And when it's no longer enjoyable, I'm 50 years old. When it's no longer enjoyable,
you unplug from it.
Yeah, I'll call it quits. There's a reason why I haven't been in a relationship in 10 years. People think I don't ever date or anything, but I'm like, I don't want to be tied down. I have no reason to. When you're younger, you can be tied down and you shouldn't, but you have kids and you're like, yeah, I'll stick it out for the kids. But when you get older, you're like, man, I don't have that much time. Realistically, there's probably less time in front of me than behind me, right? At 50.
Yeah, very realistic outlook. And you know, one of the things I'll say about that I love about Joe Fest that was so awesome was to go down to the Marriott bar with you and all the other cats and just hang out. I know you weren't drinking because you don't drink. Some people do. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there was I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he was like, "Hey, can you sign my Joe Fest book?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm a nobody." He's like, "No, I bought from you before. Can you please sign my book?" And I was like,
was it
"Well,
Darren?
hell yeah!" No, it wasn't Darren. I know Darren. 3-star, right?
Yeah.
It was somebody else. And then somebody else was like, "Hey, I want to give you this. It's a piece of trash." But it was that almost like what was it? You get the Hasbro packaging, like a hexagonal packaging that was painted like camo.
That was like probably Plastic Fantastic.
That's fucking awesome, dude. I was like, this is so cool. Like it again. It's like if we got to go in a time machine and be 8-year-olds together. Like, what are we doing? We're ordering pizza. We're gonna fucking play with GI Joes. And we're gonna be good to each other and have friends. Like that's what Joe Fest is to me.
It's
agree. Like, let's go back in a time machine and be kids again, and just be cool. Like That's the magic of Joe Fest to me.
And nobody's there again. I've only been to 2. Nobody is there to start trouble. Nobody is there looking for fights. That's why that hotel just lets people sit out there till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Because well, the whole place is booked by, for the most part, the attendees. But
Yeah.
they're just, no one's causing any problems. Yeah, we're a little loud, but again, it's all the people there. I would assume that other conventions they have there is fairly similar, right? But yeah, we're all there to have fun, get to meet people. 3 years now, this will be my 3rd year. Now I'm going back to see people again, right? Same with second year, 3rd year, more people that but you're also there hoping that we've met more people and we're actually going to get a relationship in person. Maybe someone will live in Michigan and we can hang out from time to time or go to some of the other shows. I mean, I went to Assembly Required and there were guys, that I met at Joe Fest that were also there.
Yeah,
some people tried getting to come in.
Yeah, I mean, a dude like Uncle Clutch. This dude, he sent me these awesome figures he made. Like out of pure good faith.
Yeah,
out of pure good faith that I would be like, yeah, I'll be who I say I am. I'll be who you thought I would be, and it's like, then he flies out and we like order pizza and play GI Joe, and watch action movies, and it's super silly, but in an era where we live with all this digital nonsense, like that human connection to other men is like super important. I think it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be like, I've had these experiences in life and whatever, but like, for a moment we can connect with like this super cool hobby that we all love. It's great. It's beautiful.
It's, at least for me, Joe Fest is literally 4 days of, you don't think about work. I don't go there to create content. There are guys that are there. If you're there to create a bunch of content, then you're probably working. To me, that's not a vacation. I do a walkthrough in the morning. Both years that I went to Joe Fest, I said, I'm going to do interviews. And then I get there and I'm like, I'm hanging out with my friends. The second year, I was like, I think I might, but I don't know. I'm hanging out with my buddies that I'm not going to see for another year. This year, I'm like, I'll do my walkthrough Saturday morning like I always have. It's a 45-minute walkthrough. I get there early. I have the badge. I do my walkthrough. I quickly go upstairs, put it together, put it out there. Hopefully, it brings in some people. I did it for AR, and I got someone to come down. They're like, yeah, you know what? I saw the video, and I'm like, you know what? I've never been there. I live a half hour away. Why don't I come down? Cool. I got one person to come down to Assembly Required by just doing a quick walkthrough and throwing it up on YouTube. I don't want to create content. I want to enjoy my time with my friends. I take pictures. That is one thing that I have come to do. Because, again, it doesn't take much to take your phone out. Hey, let's take a picture. Boom.
Oh, dude, we took lots of... My daughter took pictures. That's my memory. And then I did a book. So all the pictures that I took of like 24, I had everyone that I could sign the book that was in any of those pictures. And I'm going to do the same thing again for this year. You can get all the pictures printed up. If I took a picture with you, I'm going to ask you to sign the book, because it's just a memory thing. And I got the idea from 3-star Darren, who he has this book that he has people sign. He's not asking for autographs. Again, I'm not a celebrity. Even if I was, I don't think anyone should want my signature. But when you're like, this is just a memory, cool, that actually makes sense. Dude, it's a yearbook for us that got to time travel and be kids again.
Exactly.
That's what it is. It's like we got to be kids again for a little bit, and that's super awesome.
So, but it is after midnight. I want everyone to tell. I want you to tell everyone, and everything is in the description. So tell everyone where they can find you, where they can go get some of these wonderful weapons, how they might be able to get 10% off.
Well, here's another custom we did. And again, these are all done in house now. There will no longer be the delay we had before. But yeah, it's a mean G3. Any rate, you can find us at www.topfunretrotoys3d.com, and we have an expensive, borderline autistic, in a good way, version of all your favorite weapons. And if there's something you don't like there, then maybe email me. If enough people email me, I'll create it. But I want to reiterate a shout out to you, Lawrence. Man, thank you for having me on the show. Ryan from Old Krusty Crow, I love you, brother. Matt from Uncle Clutch, dude, thanks for being there, dude. You are a brother to me. I have met so many wonderful people in this community. Again, if I can reiterate, like, imagine ordering a pizza and hanging out with your best friends and playing action figures. That's what Joe Fest is. That's what this community ought to be. Because, like, at this stage in our lives as men, we have so much shit to deal with. Like, give yourself a reprieve. Like, just try to be a kid again. It'll do you well.
And I'll say it again. When it comes to these conventions, you don't have to like everyone, but you can still be on the playground and survive. If I don't like, there's people that I don't like that I just don't talk to, because it's not like they're in my house. You just go there. If you don't like someone, you don't talk to them. It's that simple. Just walk by them. So, but I've had such a blast. 2 years. I don't see this year being any different. Again, I know I'm excited for it, and it sounds like you are too. And
dude, I'm super pumped, and we need to hang out and do, like, get the crew together and whoever else wants to be involved, and just go forth and do great things and have that pizza party, play with action figures, just be fucking kids again.
We will have that table underneath the steps right there. I can guarantee you that.
Hell yeah, I remember that table. I love it, brother.
And then quickly, before we take off, Commander Wolf saying, replay gang this week again, completely missed it. That's fine. Hey, that's what this show is designed, so people can rewatch it for sure here. So, and then Patriot Force saying, as we taking off, great conversation. Glad I was able to hop on. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you again at Joe Fest. I know last year you were right next to Delta 17, and we didn't talk till like the last day. So, literally like the last hours. It was, but there's
dude,
so many.
with Patriot Force, he has the budding creativity. He just needs to harness it for himself. And I know, like, we've been talking on Instagram, dude, like, you can start small with those small play sets we were talking about, with the mortar pit or whatever. Like, you can do it, dude.
That was awesome. I'm so glad that B got that and he got the review up. That is the type of that's the type of display that people want, because it doesn't take up much room.
Yeah, because if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. But I don't want to take that from you. I love doing little guns. That's what I love, is doing little ass guns. Like, I love making these little things all day. I don't want to do play sets, but there's a void, brother, and I'll help you fill it. Like, hit me up, dude. I'm with you. Like, it's not a zero-sum game.
Sounds like you had a collab coming here.
I would love to have a collab, man. I've given him and Esteban Cifuentes, like, many weapons that were painted, and like, hey, dude, let's work together. Like, when I say work together, it's like, same thing with Matt Harris from Uncle Clutch. Like, I push your swing, you push my swing, man. We're gonna get along just fine, dude. We're gonna play in. At the end of the day, we're dudes in our 40s or 50s playing with action figures. So let's not take ourselves that seriously.
That is exactly it. So anyway, John, thank you so much. In the description, again, Top Fun Toys is there. Use my code PUNKWithToys. Drop the A, you get 10% off. His Instagram is up there along with his YouTube. Says he says he has to start doing some YouTube stuff. Eventually he'll get it up there for sure. But anyway, John, thank you so much. I will be seeing you again at Joe Fest in less than 4 months. So
Dude, it's coming fast. And Lawrence, thank you for the opportunity to be on your show. I love it so much, man. You're awesome. And big shout out to Old Krusty Crow for linking us up, because that's where it all began.
It is, because he's like, hey, he told me everything. He's like, this guy will sell you some stuff. He'll do the reviews. And I believe that I have, and that makes me happy, because
Absolutely have, brother.
I get a little something. You hopefully get a little bit more, and it all works out for everyone.
Absolutely.
So anyway, John, thank you. Everyone that tuned in, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
I'll see everyone on Monday. John, I'll be talking to you in a little bit. Take care.
I'm out.